Chapter 2447. Lin Xian, Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu were also puzzled. However, that youth felt very wronged. I didn't leave at all. I've always been with you guys. He wasn't the only one. The other sacred grounds, great sects, and the disappeared cultivators also said the same thing. This made everyone extremely puzzled. They've always been together? But previously they had clearly counted that one person was missing. These people couldn't have been mistaken. So, they also didn't know what had happened? For a moment, many people used their divine abilities to investigate the other party. Some people even used eye techniques. However, they couldn't see anything. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He had no choice but to activate the heavenly secret divine eye. A golden light appeared in his eyes. Bus. He looked at the youth who had disappeared. Bus. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He shouted coldly, "Hurry up and attack." Elder Li Xingtian and the others didn't know why Lin Xian said that, but Xingtian still made a move. The huge palm above suddenly slapped down, enveloping the youth who had disappeared. "No, Temple Master. You can't kill me. I didn't do anything wrong." The youth's crazy roar alarmed all the people from the other sacred grounds and sections. For a moment, everyone looked over. The cultivators from Immortal Palace also had serious expressions. Many of them even turned pale. Although the situation was strange, they didn't know why Lin Xian didn't figure it out and directly attacked. Boom. Xingtian's large palm slapped down, directly turning the youth who had disappeared into a bloody mist. Blood exploded and splattered in all directions. Many people cried out in alarm. However, they soon screamed. The reason for that was because countless black rays of light suddenly flew out from the blood mist and swept out in all directions. Bang bang bang. A few of Immortal Palace's cultivators were instantly entangled. Elder Li and Xingtian roared. Damn it. There was indeed a problem. Majestic power rushed out of their bodies. Terrifying divine abilities surged forward and directly enveloped all the Immortal Palace's cultivators. Not good. Seeing this scene, the cultivators from the other sacred grounds and sects also roared angrily. They turned around and wanted to attack. Those disciples who had disappeared had a strange smile on their faces. Boom. Countless black rays of light shot out from their bodies like sharp black swords, piercing in all directions. The great sage lands, the great sects, and the imperial clans were all affected and quite a few people were injured. Damn it. Attack him. Catch it. Capture him alive. Furious roars rang out one after another as these experts attacked one after another. Boom. Boom. On Immortal Palace's side, Xingtian continuously released more than 10 palms, blasting apart the void. Heaven and earth shook as a terrifying energy enveloped the surroundings. All of the black lights were sent flying and exploded in the air. They couldn't withstand the impact at all. Whoosh. The piercing black light quickly retracted, like a black waterfall. Ah! Some of the weaker ones had their necks wrapped around. Breathing was painful and there were even traces of blood. The necks of the two Immortal Palace disciples were directly snapped. Not only the Immortal Palace, but the cultivators of the other holy lands and great sects were also killed. This scene infuriated everyone. Damn it. It was her hair. These black things were actually hair. Someone roared angrily. Lin Xian also noticed the situation. They discovered that the black light was indeed hair. It was densely packed and endless. It was nauseating. Countless strands of hair enveloped everyone from Immortal Palace. One of them rushed towards Lin Xian, Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing. Lin Xian snorted coldly and raised his hand to release a sword light. Boom. The strange hair was cut apart. Xin Jingqiu released a purple mist and completely enveloped all of the shattered hair. The hair disappeared without a trace. Purple chi from the east. Xin Jingqiu quickly formed a seal. Countless purple chi formed around her and completely enveloped Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing. The black hair couldn't get close at all. Xingtian, Elder Li and the others quickly took action. Although the hair was strange, the people here were all experts and many of them were peerless powerhouses. Therefore the hair quickly retreated. They fled into the distance and disappeared. Chase after them. Everyone roared. Lin Xian also chased after them with his people. They ran all the way and arrived at another hall. When they arrived at the main hall, they realized that the hair had disappeared into the void. It was as if it had never appeared. Damn it. The people from the Immortal Palace roared. Xingtian even shattered the void with a punch, but it didn't appear again. What's going on? Did it disappear? Everyone was puzzled. They looked at the hall and wanted to investigate the situation. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, countless white figures appeared in the surroundings. There was a white figure standing in every direction. The white figures were strange and hazy. They were facing the crowd. They were dressed in white and had long hair that reached their waists. They seemed to be women. There were many similar white figures. They appeared at the edge of the hall and formed a circle, surrounding everyone. Damn it, what are these shadows? They were puzzled. Many of them didn't even see how they appeared. It was as if they appeared out of thin air. What the hell? Die for me? A martial artist from the Nine Heavens' sacred ground roared. He swung his saber and a terrifying saber light slashed forward. It instantly hit the white figure. No. At this moment, an angry roar was heard. However, it was too late. The saber light had already hit the white figure. Let's see how you die. The martial artist from the Nine Heavens' sacred ground sneered. However, in the next moment, his body stiffened and the saber in his hand fell to the ground. His eyes widened and his pupils shrank to the size of needles. It was as if he had encountered something terrifying. Bam. He fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Damn it, what's going on? What happened? Everyone was stunned. The people from the Nine Heavens' sacred ground roared crazily. Who was it? Who did it? They were about to go crazy. Because no one saw it clearly. This person wasn't attacked at all. How could he be killed? What was even more strange was that the young disciple who attacked was a genius. His strength had reached the almighty level. It wasn't easy to kill such a person. Soul attack. This was the first attack that came to everyone's mind. Because only soul attacks could appear and disappear mysteriously and kill people without leaving a trace. The people from the Nine Heavens' sacred ground looked at Lin Xian immediately. This was because they knew that Lin Xian was a terrifying soul power expert. Many of them were furious and wanted to rush over. However, the elders of the Nine Heavens' sacred ground shouted coldly. Don't be rash. It wasn't them. There was something wrong with the white figure in front. Since the elders had said so, the disciples of the Nine Heavens' sacred ground were unwilling to accept it. They asked, damn it, what's going on? Chapter 24:48. Damn it, what's going on? Do those white figures know soul attacks? So what if they do? A beauty from the Xiaoyao sect snorted. Whoosh. She opened her mouth and spat out a pagoda, which floated above her head and protected her soul. This was a treasure, and it was an exclusive treasure for soul defense. With it, one could block soul attacks. Break. The beauty from the Xiaoyao sect quickly attacked after her soul was protected. A long rainbow streaked across the void and charged forward. Soon it pierced through a white figure. Everyone looked over with rapt attention. Many people's eyes were twinkling. Some of them even released their soul power. They wanted to see how strange Yi Chen's soul power was. The pink light pierced through the white figure. However, in the next moment, the beauty from the Xiaoyao sect froze and widened her eyes. Her face was full of fear. With a plop, he fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Dead. Everyone was stunned. The people from the Xiaoyao sect looked even worse. Junior sister. Many of them rushed over and checked carefully. They found that the opponent's life force was already gone. What's going on? The others looked even more serious. They didn't find any soul power. They wanted to check carefully. Even if the opponent used his soul power, they would be able to detect it in an instant. More importantly, it was the pagoda worn by the beauty from the Xiaoyao sect didn't receive any attack at all. He was killed just like that? This meant that it wasn't soul power. Or maybe the opponent's soul power was so strong that they couldn't believe it. Impossible. They could feel the soul power of an invincible king. What kind of technique was that? They were going crazy. If they could not decipher these white figures, they would be trapped here for the rest of their lives, unable to leave. Lin Xian frowned. He also found that it wasn't a soul attack. What were those things? Were they ghosts? Shen Jingqiu was a bit scared, and Murong Qingqian's face was also cold. While everyone was confused, some people in the crowd spoke. They were resentful spirits. They didn't use soul attacks. They used resentful spirits, which were even stranger than soul attacks. What? Resentful spirits? Everyone turned around and looked. They found that the ones who spoke were a dozen monks from the Western Desert. Grandmaster, can you explain it in detail? That's right, Master. Is there any way to break it? The elders from the great sects all inquired. They thought they saw hope. That was because the monks of the Western Desert all cultivated some Buddhist divine powers, which were perfect for restraining these ghosts and evil creatures. With their help, they might really be able to subdue these vengeful spirits. The monks from the Western Desert nodded. It's indeed possible. Amitba Avalokitesvara. The monks began to chant scriptures. These were not ordinary scriptures, but the great success of Buddhism of the Western continent. It was very profound and profound. Coupled with the cultivation of these people, could be said that its power was boundless. At this moment, everyone thanked themselves for calming down and stabilizing their mental states. How magical! These people were shocked. Lin Xian was also surprised. Although he had never interacted with the monks of the Western Desert, he could tell that these people were indeed extraordinary. In fact, it could even be said to be extremely terrifying. Between heaven and earth, the sound of Sanskrit rang out, bringing with it a mysterious and unfathomable energy. When the white figures heard this, they all let out miserable cries. Their bodies quickly melted like snow under the sun. Then they disappeared. Seeing that scene, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. That's great. Fortunately, the monks of the Western Desert were there. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for them to attack on their own. After all, resentment was an existence that was even more bizarre than souls. If they were not careful, they might be directly killed if the resentment was added to their bodies. It was just like the two prodigies from before. Let's go quickly. Everyone did not dare to delay. Lin Xian also led the people from the Immortal Palace forward. However, they had only walked halfway when they stopped in their tracks. That was because another figure appeared in the main hall in front of them. It was a white figure just like the previous ones. However, this time he did not have his back to the crowd. Instead, he was facing them. His jet black hair covered his face and his eyes were white. It was a very strange sight. His face was even paler. It was a ghastly sight. Many female disciples cried out in surprise. Jingqiu also cried out in surprise. She grabbed Lin Xian's arm and did not dare to look again. Murong Qingqing frowned. This wraith seemed to be more powerful than the previous ones. Oh no, it's a 10,000-year-old wraith. The few people from the Western Desert also turned pale with fright. Those white figures from before were all 1,000-year-old wraiths. Their cultivation was not high. They could be subdued. However, they had encountered a 10,000-year-old wraith. It was an extremely terrifying existence. As expected, they chanted Buddhist scriptures. Mysterious Sanskrit characters floated in the sky, forming a light screen that pressed forward. However, when it was 3 meters in front of the white figure, it stopped and could not go any further. Boom. In the next moment, the white 10,000-year-old wraith raised his head. A strange red light appeared in his eyes. All the Sanskrit characters in the sky shattered. Several Western Desert monks also took a few steps back, their faces filled with shock. How terrifying. As expected of a 10,000-year-old wraith. Seeing that, everyone else was shocked and retreated one after another. If even the Western Desert monks could not deal with it, things would be troublesome. Whoosh whoosh. Everyone took out their treasures and prepared to attack forcefully. Lin Xian also called Xingtian, Elderly, and the others to get ready to attack at any time. He had the great dragon sword soul that could destroy everything, so he was not too worried. Even if the opponent was a 10,000-year-old wraith, he was confident that he could kill it with his great dragon sword soul. However, before he could make a move, another figure walked out from among the monks behind him. It was a young figure. He seemed to be a young prodigy of the Western Desert. Elder, let me try. The young monk said with a smile. All right. Seeing that the figure walked out, the monks heaved a sigh of relief. However, the people from the sacred grounds and major sects frowned. What's going on? Even the elders can't deal with it. How can a young monk defeat a 10,000-year-old wraith? They did not quite believe it. Therefore, they were still prepared. If the other party failed, they would use force to attack. The young monk walked up with a smile on his face. It was a confident smile. At that moment, everyone's gaze fell on him. The young monk walked in front of everyone and looked at the 10,000-year-old wraith in front of him without saying a word. He stretched out his fingers. One of them pointed to the sky and the other to the ground, forming a very strange Dharma idol. Chapter 2449. Just as everyone was in a daze, the 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit in front of them suddenly revealed a look of fear. In the next moment, she knelt on the ground, her head touching the ground as if she was prostrating herself on the ground. Even her body was trembling slightly. Leave quickly, don't look back, don't look at her. When the other monks saw this scene, they all called out to everyone. Heavens, what was going on? At this moment, the prodigies and elders of the great sage land, the great sects and the royal family were all stunned. Wasn't this little monk too terrifying? He made a 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit kneel just by putting on a Dharma idol? This was a 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit. Even the eminent monks of the Western Desert could not deal with it. Now, it actually knelt to a little monk? If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. At this moment, after hearing the reminders of the Holy Lands, Lin Xian and the others quickly walked forward. The people of the other Holy Lands also left one after another. However, at this moment, everyone felt a strange feeling behind them as if someone was watching them. Some of the weaker martial artists even heard someone calling their names. Lin Xian also had the same feeling. Their faces were gloomy, and Lin Xian's expression was even more solemn, because he remembered that the mysterious little monk had told them not to look back. He did not know why they should not look back, but he knew that if they did, they would definitely be in danger. However, at this moment they had a strong feeling of turning back in their hearts. Lin Xian, Murong Qingqing, elderly, and the others were powerful, so they were fine. However, those young martial artists were probably not going to make it. No matter how strong they were still a little lacking compared to the 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit. Therefore, those young martial artists of Immortal Palace were almost unable to control themselves. At this moment, Lin Xian shouted in a low voice. The great dragon sword soul in his body rushed out and circled above their heads, letting out a loud dragon roar. The great dragon sword soul enveloped all the Immortal Palace martial artists. Tens of thousands of sword lights descended, cutting off all connections. The Immortal Palace martial artists heaved a sigh of relief. They felt that the strong calling in their hearts had disappeared. This made them feel a lingering fear. They did not dare to look back and quickly walked forward. But others were not so lucky. A few five-element sect cultivators could not help but turn their heads around. Not only that, the entire 5 Stars Palace was under attack, and so were the people of the 9 Heavens Holy Land. In addition, the Illusion Palace, the Unfettered Sect, and the other Sacred Land clans were also affected. A terrifying power of resentment swept out in all directions. Not good. The Western Desert monk's expression changed. The young monk's expression was grave as well. Unexpectedly, these people still couldn't hold back. He sighed and pointed to the sky with one hand and the ground with the other. But this time he could only protect the people of the Western Desert. The imitation dragon pattern cauldron rushed out from the Wavering Light Holy Land, stabilizing the sky and protecting the people of the Wavering Light Holy Land. In the Grand Xia Empire, dragon-shaped auras also rushed out from the bodies of the elders, forming the true dragon diagram. He resisted the resentment. Other than that, the 5 Elements Palace unleashed the 5 Elements Mountain, while the 9 Heavens Divine Emperor formed 9 cauldrons that floated in the void. At this moment, the various families of the Great Sage unleashed their ultimate techniques one after another. They fled crazily. The vengeful spirit roared and pounced forward. A ball of Buddhist light appeared on the young monk's body. Amitba. A loud Sanskrit voice sounded between heaven and earth, shocking the 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit. Using this opportunity, everyone was able to escape. When they completely left the temple, the terrifying resentment behind them disappeared. Everyone stopped and heaved a sigh of relief. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Among them, most of the forces were affected. Only the Western Desert, Lin Xian's Immortal Palace, the Wavering Light Holy Land, and the Empire of Great Swords were unharmed. Other than that, everyone had more or less lost their disciples. This made these people's expressions very ugly. They were afraid that this was only the early stage of the saint's tomb, and there were already such terrifying things. Who knew what kind of heaven-defying existences were deeper in? On the Immortal Palace's side, Elder Li and the others stood out and bowed slightly in the direction of the Western Desert. The others also expressed their gratitude. They had no choice but to thank the people of the Western Desert. Especially the young monk, who had intimidated the 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit. Otherwise, the impact they received would have been even more serious. In fact, they might have been completely wiped out. May I ask your Dharma name? An elder from the Wavering Light Holy Land asked. Senior, you are too polite. I am a disciple of the Lanrua Temple. My Dharma name is No Flower. Lanrua Temple, No Flower. Everyone silently remembered this name in their hearts. Needless to say, this was definitely a saint-level prodigy. Moreover, the other party's physique and bloodline were probably not simple. It was very likely that his background was frightening. That was because a Dharma idol could intimidate a 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit. This was definitely not something an ordinary monk could do. Everyone guessed that the other party should be like the Yi family's sacred physique, possessing a peerless bloodline. However, no one knew what kind of physique and bloodline it was. Western Desert, No Flower. Lin Xian also took a few more glances at the other party. He had to admit that this No Flower was too mysterious. Murong Qingqing also said that the Lanrua Temple in the Western Desert was also a sacred place. However, they had never heard of this no-flower before. They did not expect him to display such heaven-defying means as soon as he appeared. It seemed that this was indeed a golden age with geniuses emerging in large numbers. I still think that Big Brother Lin Xian is the most powerful. Shen Jingqiu, who was at the side, squinted her crescent-shaped eyes and said, indeed she was not wrong. Many people looked in Lin Xian's direction and were extremely surprised. This was because other than the Western Desert, the Wavering Light Holy Land, and the Great Xia dynasty, only Lin Xian's immortal palace was intact. However, the Western Desert had the mysterious no-flower, the Wavering Light Holy Land had the dragon-patterned cauldron replica, and the Great Xia dynasty had the aura of the Tao of Dragons. What kind of means did the immortal palace use? They also seemed to see a huge dragon hovering above their heads. What was going on? Did the immortal palace also have the aura of the Tao of Dragons? They could not understand. Especially the Great Xia dynasty. When they saw the other party's dragon-shaped sword qi, they were even more shocked. This was because the dragon-shaped sword qi gave them a very shocking feeling. These people were not simple. The people of the Great Xia dynasty attached great importance to Lin Xian and the immortal palace. Among them, the prince of the Great Xia dynasty stared at Lin Xian with a flicker in his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Let's go. The elder of the Wavering Light Holy Land sighed and led the people away. Everyone followed. Lin Xian also led the people of the immortal palace forward. A tunnel appeared in front of them again. However, this time the tunnel was wider. It was like many caves connected together. It was still dark and the ground was uneven. When everyone stepped on it, cracking sounds could be heard. Chapter 2450. Relying on the light on their bodies and armor, they looked down and realized that there were countless bones. Some belonged to humans, some belonged to demonic beasts, and they covered the ground. They were as white as snow. This was probably not a good place to be. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They could feel that the resentment in this place was deeper. Could there be 10,000-year-old vengeful spirits? These people were extremely nervous and could not help but gather in the direction of no flower. Along the way, everyone was shocked. These bones were very fragile and turned into powder when stepped on. It seemed like they had existed for countless years. Among these bones, there were bones that were shining. This was even more shocking. After tens of thousands of years, these bones were still shining. How heaven-defying were these people's cultivation base when they were alive? No one dared to imagine. This made them even more careful. In front, their field of vision gradually widened. However, everyone's expression became more and more unpleasant because there were countless corpses piled up in front of them. Some of these corpses had already decomposed into bones, some had not yet decomposed and still had flesh on them. They were densely packed and piled up like a mountain. It made one's scalp tingle. Lin Xian and the others knew that these were not ordinary corpses. Any one of them was probably a powerhouse. Why did these people die here? They did not know. Could it be that there was a great battle here? Or was it because of other reasons? These people were all guessing. Een elemental grass. At this moment, Peacock exclaimed in surprise. What did you find? Lin Xian asked. Temple Master, I found Een elemental grass. Peacock pointed to a few black plants in front and said, I heard Ghostly mention this before. It's a very rare spiritual medicine. It has great benefits for those who cultivate the ghost Tao. Ghost spirit wood. The martial artist from South Ridge also exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes were burning with passion because on the other side, there were a few purple trees growing near the corpses. They must be treasures of the Een elemental ghost Tao. Ah, then I won't hold back. A martial artist in a black robe sneered. He struck out a palm that covered the sky and grabbed forward. A sneer was heard. A fist like a meteor crashed into the land. Rumble. The heavens shook and the earth shook. The surrounding space cracked as the sky-covering hand was sent flying. The meteor-like fist also disappeared in the sky. Damn it, who is it? A black-robed man stood out, his voice cold as his gaze swept across the surroundings. What? You want to fight now? Ask me if I agree or not. A middle-aged man from the Four Symbols Holy Grounds stepped forward. Four Symbols Sacred Grounds. The black-robed man frowned when he saw this. Your Four Symbols Holy Lands reaches too far. This is a death-type treasure. It's useless for your Four Symbols Sacred Grounds to have it. Useless? Who said it was useless? You also said that this is a treasure. How can it be useless if you sell it or exchange it? That's right. Everyone nodded in agreement. Indeed, although they didn't practice the darkness element, they could still trade for it. Presumably, after taking it out, Those kings who cultivated the ghost Tao of darkness would be more than willing to trade it with them. However, the faces of the warriors from the south ridge darkened. There were many black-robed men among them. They were probably cold ghosts. How could he possibly agree to that? To them this was a supreme treasure. Scram. Otherwise don't blame me for starting a massacre. The black-robed man shouted coldly. You can try. The middle-aged man from the Four Symbols Holy Grounds was fearless. Boom. He directly raised his hand and slammed his palm down. That palm transformed into a huge mountain, pressing down from the sky with boundless power. Courting death. The black-robed man was enraged when he saw this. With a wave of his sleeve, endless black gas transformed into a huge snake in the air. It opened its mouth and bit at the mountain above. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, cracks appeared on the huge mountain. Then it collapsed and scattered in all directions. These black-robed men were so powerful. They could actually break through the Four Symbols Holy Grounds mystique. The surrounding experts were also shocked. They were from the Myriad Poison cult. Stay away from them. They all carry lethal poison on them. Even a peerless mighty figure would probably die. Many people reminded him softly. Hearing this, the surrounding experts felt their scalps go numb. With a whoosh they distanced themselves. However, the black-robed men sneered. Since you know we're from the Myriad Poison cult, why don't you scram obediently? All of these things are ours now. The surrounding experts' faces darkened when they heard this. What kind of joke was this? Although the Myriad Poison cult was powerful, it was only a peerless sect. Everyone here was a peerless sect or a peerless holy ground. Why should they fear the Myriad Poison cult? However, no one made a move. They wanted to see how strong the Myriad Poison cult was. What was there to be arrogant about? On the other side, Xin Jingqiu pursed her lips. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Peacock, do it. Bring those stalks of travel grass over. Yes. Upon hearing the order, Peacock stepped forward. She formed a seal with her palm, forming a green bottle that floated in the sky. Whoosh. Endless light flew out of the bottle, forming a silver river that swept towards the stalks of travel grass. Courting death. This is what the Myriad Poison cult wants. The Myriad Poison cult martial artists were enraged when they saw this. One of the black-robed men attacked again. In the sky, a black light lit up and directly cut the silver river in half. Whoosh. A black-robed man walked out. Girl, it seems like you don't understand our words. Very well, let me teach you a lesson. His voice was filled with boundless arrogance. Judging from his voice, he seemed to be from the younger generation. Courting death. Peacock also shouted. She was also a sky pride. How could she allow others to humiliate her like this? Boom. She directly attacked. Whoosh. With a wave of her sleeve, thousands of rays of light scattered and directly tore through the void. Those rays of light were like sword chi, soaring into the sky and slashing towards the black-robed man. I'll show you the power of Luo Yan today. The black-robed young man shouted coldly. He pulled out a white bone sword and directly attacked. Clang. The white bone sword collided with the rays of light in the sky, creating a deafening sound. The terrifying sound wave shook the surroundings. It shattered the entire space. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The martialists in the surroundings quickly activated their battle armor when they saw the two young geniuses clashing. They activated their defenses to resist the shockwaves of the battle. At the same time, the disciples of Five Elements Palace, Nine Heavens Sacred Ground, and other forces also flew out. They wanted to snatch the travel grass and ghost spirit wood. In an instant, an intense battle broke out. On Peacock's side, the white bone sword was extremely powerful. It cut through the rays of light in the sky. The black-robed young man Luo Yan sneered. How dare you go against the Myriad Poison cult with such little strength? You're really courting death. Chapter 2451. No one knew what kind of beast's bone was used to make this white bone sword. It was abnormally sturdy. Moreover, it carried a demonic energy. As soon as it appeared, a cold aura blew over as if hell had appeared. It made one's scalp tingle. Peacock snorted coldly, and a blurry shadow appeared behind her. Peacock spread tail. Whoosh, the terrifying energy swept in all directions like a wave, and the white bone sword was instantly blasted away. Not only that, Peacock even slapped out with her jade-like hand, and endless divine light shrouded Luo Yan. The palm was too terrifying. It roared in the sky like a huge wave and it covered the entire sky. The two of them fought fiercely. Luo Yan also used his ultimate move. His sword chi carried a strong corrosive effect. There was even poisonous gas coming out of his body. The poisonous gas could easily poison and kill a powerful being. That scene made everyone retreat and they did not dare to get close. Fortunately, the illusory figure behind the peacock shone with 1,000 rays of light, isolating all of the poisonous gas. 1,000 demon eye. Boom. In the sky, the black spots on the peacock's tail rotated, forming demon god eyes, and they emitted a strange and unpredictable energy. The black-robed youth, Luo Yen, suddenly vomited blood and was sent flying. His face was abnormally pale. Defeated. Seeing that, everyone exclaimed. Luo Yan's strength was terrifying, and his body was covered in poison. It could be said that he was very difficult to deal with. But now he had been defeated so easily. The Immortal Palace's prodigy was too terrifying. These people were shocked. What kind of divine ability was that? It was so terrifying, like the demon god eyes? This woman was incredible. She seemed to have the bloodline of Mahamayuri. No wonder. No wonder she was so powerful. Everyone was shocked. Peacock snorted and looked at the poison sect. Who else dares to fight with me for the Een traversing grass? Come and die. You're courting death. The other prodigy could not stand it anymore. His body swayed and he rushed over again. This time he used a black chain as his weapon. Like a poisonous snake, he attacked Peacock. The two of them fought again. Just as the battle was going on the other side, the people from Demon King Palace also walked over. Along the way they had also encountered a terrifying shadow. Furthermore, there was also one person missing. This scene caused the faces of the people from the Demon Imperial Palace to turn gloomy. Yen Ryu and Hua Tiandu both had grave expressions on their faces because this place was truly too strange. Especially the elders of the Demon Imperial Palace, they all frowned. That's not right. Why does this mechanism not seem to belong to the demon clan, but to the human clan? They were extremely puzzled. They originally thought that the ancient tomb of the demon race would be much easier for them, but now things were beyond their expectations. The mechanisms and formations along the way did not seem like they belonged to the demon race, but more like they belonged to the human race. But this shouldn't be the case. The two gates outside the ancient tomb were written in the ancient language of the demon race. How could it be a human ancient tomb? This made them extremely puzzled. Along the way they fought off the strange hair and arrived at a large hall. They also encountered the white vengeful spirits. Not only that, but the 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit also appeared in an instant. His hair was disheveled, and his entire body emitted a monstrous aura, causing the martial artists of the Demon Imperial Palace to tremble. The elders' faces were even more solemn. Damn it, it's a 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit. How could there be such a terrifying thing here? The martial artists of the Demon Imperial Palace snorted coldly. Let's attack together and kill him. These people were all hot-tempered. However, one of the elders shook his head. Don't be rash, don't attack. Vengeful energy was very strange. They couldn't fight them head-on. They had to think of another way. Let me do it. Yen Ryu stepped forward. She looked ahead with a calm expression. Poof. She bit her finger and flicked a drop of blood in front of her. Buzz. The drop of blood was crystal clear, and there were even strange patterns on it. It was obvious that this was not ordinary blood. As expected, something strange happened. When the blood appeared and floated in the sky, the surrounding vengeful spirits all let out miserable cries. They all knelt down. The 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit in front of them also knelt down, his body trembling. This scene was very similar to the situation with No Flower, and it seemed to have caused an even greater commotion than No Flower. If the martial artists of the sacred land saw this scene, they would definitely exclaim in shock. Who was this woman? She was too terrifying. A drop of blood made a 10,000-year-old vengeful spirit kneel. What kind of blood was this? Even the blood of a sacred body probably couldn't reach this level, right? The people of the Demon Imperial Palace were also shocked, but they soon became excited. Sure enough, Hua Tiandu also laughed loudly. With a wave of his hand, the group quickly walked forward. Soon they left this palace. They were getting closer and closer to Lin Xian and the others. On Lin Xian's side, Peacock defeated another two people, making the myriad poison cult gnash their teeth. They didn't expect that Immortal Palace only sent out a young woman to suppress their myriad poison cult. This face slap was really loud. The surrounding people also sneered, looking like they were watching a show. You're very strong, but you dare to provoke my myriad poison cult? You're courting death. Now go to hell. Right at this moment, a cold voice sounded. A woman in a black robe walked out. This woman was extremely beautiful, and her eyes were even more soul-stirring. Myriad Poison Saintess. It was unknown who cried out in surprise. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the Myriad Poison Saintess to make a move. This time there was a good show to watch. Peacock's expression was also serious. She could naturally sense the other party's strength. Sister Peacock, come back. I'll beat her up. Shen Jingqiu released Lin Xian's arm from behind and stood out. What? Peacock turned around and looked at Lin Xian with a questioning look. Lin Xian asked, Is Qiu okay? She's fine. I've wanted to make a move for a long time. Shen Jingqiu was also very excited. Indeed, there weren't many opportunities for her to make a move. Now she finally had one. Moreover, it was the vicious Myriad Poison Saintess. How could she let go of this opportunity? Let her try. Anyway, we're all here. Nothing will go wrong. Murong Qingqing, who was standing to the side, also smiled. All right then, Peacock, come back. Yes. Peacock retracted her 1,000 demon eyes and returned to Lin Xian's side. She stood respectfully behind him. Shen Jingqiu, on the other hand, stood up excitedly. She pointed her jade-like fingers forward. You're the saintess of all poisons? What moves do you have? Bring it on. Little girl, you really don't know what's good for you. Look at how cute you are. When you turn into a skeleton later, it will be a beautiful scene. I've decided to seal your skeleton and make it part of my collection. Ah, what a vicious woman. Take this. Chapter 2452. Although Shen Jingqiu looked cute, she was not careless at all when she attacked. After all, she was Saintess Zixia. Sure enough, as soon as the divine ability was used, everyone around exclaimed. The saints and saintesses also frowned. Her strength was not weaker than theirs. The saintess of all poisons sneered. Let me see what kind of ability you have. As she spoke, her figure flashed and she rushed over. In an instant, she dodged the purple palm. At the same time, she waved her 2 black sleeves, drawing out 2 poisonous snakes that circled in the air and attacked Shen Jingqiu. The 2 black pythons in the sky spun and stirred the void, exuding a cold aura. In an instant, they came to Shen Jingqiu's side and coiled around her. Little girl, your combat experience is not very good. The saintess of all poisons sneered. The others were also discussing. They could also see that Shen Jingqiu's combat experience was obviously insufficient. This Saintess Zixia did not live up to her reputation. She fell into the opponent's trap so easily. It seemed that the opponent had not fought many battles. This time she was probably out of luck. Voices of discussion sounded. Shen Jingqiu's small face was cold. She snorted and formed a seal with her palms. A cloud of purple gas rushed out of her body and wrapped her up. It spun quickly and formed a purple vortex. The purple vortex spun, and a terrifying energy surged in all directions like a stormy sea. This energy knocked away all the attacks. Seeing this, the people of Immortal Palace breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing's expressions also eased a lot. The martial artists and elders of the other sacred lands were also discussing. It seemed that although she was not very experienced, she was still a saintess. Her strength was not to be underestimated. Indeed, the strength Shen Jingqiu displayed was definitely at the saintess level. It was just that her combat experience was a little weaker. However, unless a real saint or saintess attacked her, it would be difficult for others to suppress her. However, this time, the one who attacked Shen Jingqiu was indeed the saintess of all poisons. The Myriad Poison Saintess was surprised to see her attack deflected. Then she sneered. Not bad, little girl. You actually managed to dodge it. However, even if you can avoid it this time, can you avoid it the next time? Shen Jingqiu snorted coldly and quickly made her move. Purple qi revolved around his body, forming 9 purple moons above him. The 9 purple moons rotated, stirring up the void, and 9 purple vortexes appeared. The space around her shattered, and the 9 moons radiated boundless divine light as they charged toward the saintess of all poisons. 9 moons connecting the skies. This was a great divine ability of the purple afterglow holy land. The surrounding people also cried out in surprise. Sure enough, the 9 moons spun in the sky. The saintess also stopped smiling. She felt a great pressure. It was as if the sky was pressing down on her, and all the bones in her body were making cracking sounds. The Myriad Poisons Saintess decisively took action. Her body was suffused with multicolored light that shot into the sky. These were all different types of poisonous gas. As soon as they appeared, they melted the void and surged upwards, wanting to melt the 9 suns together. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 collided with earth-shattering sounds. A wave of energy swept out in all directions. Everyone retreated, putting some distance between them. At the same time their armor lit up. Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing stared fixedly at the battlefield. Fortunately, they were relieved to see that Xin Jingqiu and the Saintess of all poisons were evenly matched. The Saintess of all poisons snorted coldly. A dozen black vipers appeared behind her, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they charged. They clashed with the 9 suns. The two of them fought an earth-shattering battle. However, no one noticed that the situation around them had changed. The shockwaves of energy entered the corpses as if they were being absorbed. Boom, boom, boom. At first nothing happened. However, after absorbing enough energy, the mountains of corpses emitted low rumbling sounds, as if a peerless demon was slowly awakening. An abnormally cold and frightening power emanated from his body. The martial artists of the various holy lands and great sects trembled as they felt a chill run down their spines. However, they did not think too much about it. In their opinion, it was probably the shockwaves of the battle between the two saintesses that made them tremble instinctively. However, the elders frowned. Something was wrong. This aura was not right. On the Immortal Palace's side, Xing Tian and Elder Li also frowned. Something was wrong. Hearing this, Lin Xian hurriedly said, "Qiu, come back." In the sky, Xin Jingqiu controlled the 9 moons to contend against the Saintess of all poisons. When he heard Lin Xian's words, he launched another earth-shattering attack. The 9 moons connected into one, shooting out a half-moon purple light that directly cut the void in half. The purple light slashed toward the Saintess of all poisons, wanting to cut her in half. The Saintess of all poisons used 5-colored poison gas to block this earth-shattering attack. She wanted to attack again, but Xin Jingqiu had already returned to Lin Xian's side. "Big brother Lin Xian, what's wrong? I can still fight. Don't attack first. The situation is not right." Lin Xian stopped Xin Jingqiu and looked around with a serious expression. On the other side, the Saintess of all poisons also felt a trace of cold aura, but she did not attack. The other people who were fighting also looked around as if they were facing a great enemy. "Listen, what is that sound?" A martial artist of the 9 Li dynasty said with a frown. Boom. Sure enough, everyone heard an unusual sound and it was getting louder and louder. "Damn it, it's coming from the corpses." The martial artists of the 9 heavens sacred ground were terrified. What? Inside the corpses? Could it be that there's something alive inside? Is it a zombie? These people were facing a great enemy. These were the corpses of ancient experts. If they turned into zombies and came back to life, it would be extremely terrifying. They did not want such a thing to happen. However, things did not go as they wished. The mountain of corpses suddenly cracked open, and then a few figures stood up. Oh no, they really turned into zombies. Seeing this scene, the martial artists of the great sage land felt their scalps go numb. Lin Xian and the others frowned. Armor appeared on their bodies and their eyes shone. They were ready to attack at any time. What made them heave a sigh of relief was that there were not many people who stood up, only 7 figures. However, these 7 figures did not seem to be skeletons. They wore worn-out armor that looked very ancient. It was full of cracks as if it would break at any time, but they were wearing it. This strange scene made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. In their hands there were sharp and broken blades. Some were bronze spears and some were long spears. There were even long blades that were 2 to 3 meters long. Chapter 2453. What were those? Were they ancient people? They frowned and thought that they were zombies or that the bones had mutated. But now it seemed that it wasn't the case. Could it be that they were Yin soldiers? An elder of the Yi family frowned. Yin soldiers? The others also changed their expressions. After Lin Xian heard this, he also frowned. He knew that this kind of thing was a very terrifying existence. Although they were dead, they had temporarily come back to life under certain circumstances. What was even more terrifying was that these people might have retained their combat strength and divine abilities from when they were alive. Once they attacked, it would be extremely terrifying. He didn't expect that there would be Yin soldiers in the ancient tomb of a saint. Looking at the murderous aura on their bodies, they were definitely not ordinary people. They must have been very powerful kings when they were alive. But 7 Yin soldiers stood there like statues with sharp blades in their hands. Gradually, a trace of sharpness appeared in their grayish-white eyes. Then the endless death aura around them gathered towards their bodies. Roar, 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 roar. Roars came from their mouths. The 7 Yin soldiers seemed to have come to life and moved slowly. But among them, one of the Yin soldiers waved the long spear in his hand and stabbed forward. His target was the 5 Elements Palace. Because at this moment the people of the Five Elements Palace were the closest to the Yin soldiers, courting death. The few young martial artists of the Five Elements Palace roared. So what if they were Yin soldiers? How dare they attack the dead? They struck out with the power of the Five Elements and blasted forward. These were all young geniuses. At this moment they were absolutely terrifying when they attacked together. Boom. However, what happened next surprised them. All of their power of the Five Elements was instantly pierced through. A long spear broke through the void and directly came in front of them. No. These people screamed, their faces were full of horror and wanted to escape. Puff puff puff. Time seemed to have stopped. The three young geniuses of the Five Elements sect stiffened. Their bodies were pierced through by a bronze-long spear. They were nailed in the void as if they were candied haws. Drip, drip. Blood dripped, making a muffled sound that made everyone's scalp tingle. So powerful. They were too shocked. These Yin soldiers were too terrifying. They killed three geniuses in an instant. What kind of method was this? They didn't dare to imagine. Damn it, let's attack together. Kill them all. He absolutely could not allow them to absorb any more death energy. The elder of the Yi family roared. Although Leaf Dao Denier wasn't present, the elders and disciples of the Yi clan were still terrifying. They were the clan of the ancients, which was absolutely terrifying. Now that he had struck out, it was truly enough to cause the entire world to explode. Not only the Yi family but the Wavering Light Sacred Land had also made a move. Other than that, the Five Elements Palace, for symbols Holy Grounds, Granxia Dynasty, Nine Li Dynasty, Nine Heavens Holy Ground, etc. Everyone attacked together, and the terrifying power spread out in all directions. Boom. Immortal Palace's people also took action. In an instant, the few Yin soldiers in front of them were submerged by the berserk energy. When the energy dissipated, the 7 Yin soldiers ceased to exist. Seeing this scene, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The warriors from the Holy Land sneered. What kind of Yin soldiers are they? They have no power to fight back against us. That's right, there are so many of us. What can a mere 7 Yin soldiers do to us? These people threw their heads back and laughed. However, before they could finish laughing, a low voice suddenly sounded. An even colder aura appeared. Then all around them figures stood up one after another. They wore broken armor and held sharp blades in their hands. The cold aura on their bodies swept through the world, causing people to tremble. 1, 2, 3. The more they looked, the more frightened they became because at this moment, there were hundreds of Yin soldiers around them. Although they didn't have as many people as they did, the Yin chi that they emitted was too terrifying. Moreover, it seemed that more Yin soldiers were awakening. Damn it. Run. This seems to be a place to hide corpses. Countless powerhouses were buried here. These people seemed to have been killed and their resentment was very strong. Now that they were resurrected, who knew what kind of crazy things they would do? Run. An elder of the Tuoba family roared crazily. The elders of the other families also changed their expressions. At this moment, no one dared to stay here and left one after another. However, among them, a few people from the Myriad Poison sect used black chains to shroud the ghost spirit wood. It seemed that they were reluctant to part with it. Not only them, but the people from the 9 Heavens Holy Lands and 5 Elements Palace also attacked the Yin-shaped grass. However, Lin Xian was faster. He asked the little white monkey to snatch the Yin-shaped grass. Whitey's figure flashed and directly pulled out 3 Yin-shaped grasses, and then disappeared into the void. Damn monkey. I'm going to kill you. The people from the 5 Elements Palace and 9 Heavens Holy Lands roared crazily. On the other side, the people from the Myriad Poison sect sneered. Because they had snatched 2 ghost spirit woods. Buzz. Crack. However, at this moment, one of the ghost spirit woods strangely broke, and 2/3 of it disappeared into the void. Damn it, what happened? The people from the Myriad Poison sect were stunned. They roared crazily. Who is it? Come out. They naturally knew that someone was secretly snatching the ghost spirit woods. But what kind of method was this? Appearing out of thin air and snatching more than half of the ghost spirit woods. They didn't even know who the enemy was. At the front, Lin Xian revealed a smile. The little white monkey held more than half of the purple ghost spirit woods and kept jumping. Lin Xian waved his hand and kept all these things into the black earth. Let's go. He brought Shen Jingqiu, Murong Qingqing, and the people from Immortal Palace and quickly left. Boom. Boom. The corpse storage ground was too big. There was a long passage in front of them, and there were corpses on both sides, surrounded by endless resentment. At this moment, Yin soldiers crawled out from the corpses one after another. It was only now that Lin Xian and the others realized that these Yin soldiers were too strange. The battle armor they were wearing wasn't real battle armor. Instead, it was formed by cold resentment through the power of some kind of life. Even their weapons were the same. It was as if the bones of the vengeful spirits were bound by some kind of powerful force in the armor, forcing them to fight. What kind of power was this? This kind of power was beyond their imagination. Soon the Yin soldier army moved and scattered all the Holy Lands in sections. These forces were separated by countless Yin soldiers, and they could only fight on their own. In an instant, a fierce battle broke out. Everyone fought with the Yin soldiers and the battle was earth-shattering. However, no matter how they fought, they were at a disadvantage. These Yin soldiers were not living creatures. They could still condense after death. And these cultivators of the Holy Lands, the geniuses of the great sects, could only die here after being killed. Chapter 2454. It was the same for Lin Xian and the rest. Lin Xian unleashed the Dragon Sword Realm, which enveloped everyone and transformed into an azure dragon. Inside, Xing Tian, Elder Li, the other elites, including Brother Morong, channeled all their energy into the azure dragon. The divine dragon swung its tail, invincible. All the Yin soldiers in the way were sent flying. Their speed could be said to be extremely fast. It was the same for the Yi family. Countless geniuses and elders of the Yi family shone with a golden light that shot into the sky, forming a golden giant. They sent the Yin soldiers flying. On the other side, the Wavering Light Sacred Ground had the Wavering Light Sage leading the way. The dragon pattern cauldron above their heads emitted a myriad of auras. It could kill even gods. The Yin soldiers in the sky were sent flying. The other sacred grounds and sects also joined forces and left quickly. These were not ordinary people. After the initial panic, they organized an effective counterattack. However, it didn't take long for Lin Xian and the others to slow down. Finally they stopped. This was because there were 5 figures in front of them. These 5 figures were very similar to the Yin soldiers from before, but there were some differences. The armor on their bodies was more solid, and there were even ghostly patterns on it. 2 of them were even riding on war horses. However, they were not living creatures. They were Yin horses. They were formed by resentment. Damn it. These are not Yin soldiers. They are Yin generals. Their abilities are far above the Yin soldiers. As expected, the 5 Yin generals forced everyone to retreat as soon as they attacked. Buzz. The dragon pattern cauldron trembled and let out a dragon roar. Lin Xian's azure dragon shadow also roared into the sky. In an instant, a terrifying sound wave swept across the entire space. If they wanted to move forward, they had to kill these 5 Yin generals. Elder Li, Xing Tian, defend yourselves. Qing Qiu, or don't move. I'll go and kill him. Lin Xian's body swayed as he charged over. Elder Li and the rest stayed where they were, fighting against the Yin soldiers around them. On the other side, the Wavering Light Sage also charged over. On the Yi family's side, an elder of the Yi family attacked. Of the 5 Yin generals, only 2 remained. From the Grand Xia Empire, a white-robed young man walked out. He was a prince of the Grand Xia Empire. At this moment he also made his move and charged towards a Yin general. Chill, you wait here. I'll deal with the last Morong Qingqing. Her figure flashed and she charged towards the last Yin general with light that filled the sky. 5 powerful experts against 5 Yin generals. All of a sudden the sky fell and the earth cracked. However, this was the tomb of a sage after all. Such a violent attack did not cause any damage to the surrounding mountain walls. Everyone was amazed. Everyone knew that only a saint would be able to do something like this. Lin Xian soared into the air and killed a Yin warrior in front of him. That Yin general had a tall and straight figure. He wore a black battle armor with ice-cold runes flickering on it. An incomparably powerful force erupted like a volcano. Sword of Fire. Lin Xian was the first to attack. A black flaming sword slashed down from the sky, and a vast aura crashed down like waves. Evil beings were afraid of fire. Hence, Lin Xian thought that the Sword of Fire should be able to restrain the other party. However, the outcome was far beyond his expectations. The Yin general was indifferent. He waved the black spear in his hand and stabbed it out. The black light was like the river Styx. It met the attack head-on. The 2 of them exploded, and an aura of ice and fire blended together. Soon the Sword of Fire was blocked. The Yin general stabbed his spear again. The terrifying spear light turned into a black dragon. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It tore through the void and charged forward. Sword of Water. Lin Xian swung his sword and water filled the sky, trapping the black dragon. Sword of Earth. The ground cracked open and 3 stone swords pierced out from the ground, charging towards the Yin general. Boom, 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 boom. The sword of earth slashed on the Yin general's body, and a sonorous sound could be heard. It was earth-shattering and it tore through the void. However, the other party's black battle armor was very strange. Its defense was very strong and it forcefully blocked the impact. Sky-shattering. Seeing this, Lin Xian snorted. He did not use the five-element sword again. Instead, he used the chaotic heaven destroyer sword. The void in front of him exploded. An unparalleled force rushed towards the Yin general, trying to tear his body apart. Boom. This time it was finally effective. The Yin general retreated 7 or 8 steps. The black battle armor on his body exploded. More than half of it was shattered and half of his body was swallowed by the black hole. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He realized that there was nothing under the battle armor. There were no skeletons or corpses. What was going on? What was this Yin general? He was stunned. He had thought that there would be at least a skeleton or a rotten body inside. However, the situation was far beyond his expectations. However, what shocked him even more was yet to come. At this moment, the shattered armor was slowly recovering. The endless cold ghost chi in the surroundings converged towards this side. Mysterious black runes formed and slowly healed. In the end, it was as good as new. The Yin general let out an angry roar, shattering the void. The cold and powerful aura exploded once again. Damn it, how could this be? Lin Xian frowned. He was not the only one. The great Xia prince, the Alcade sage, the Yi family's elder, and Murong Qingqing were all in the same situation. They were all peerless experts. When they attacked, they injured the Yin general. However, the Yin general did not die. Instead, he absorbed the Yin chi and recovered. Could they not be killed? The 5 of them retreated and confronted the Yin general. They quickly discussed. Could it be that they could not be killed? Murong Qingqing frowned. The surrounding Holy Land martial artists who were fighting against the army of Yin soldiers had ugly expressions on their faces when they saw this. Not only were the 5 Yin generals unkillable, but the surrounding Yin soldiers were also unkillable. Even if they were destroyed, they would soon reassemble and crawl over. It was endless and made them feel hopeless. Impossible, there was nothing that could not die. Even a sage could fall. Needless to say, these Yin ghosts were nothing. The great Xia prince said in a deep voice. There must be a way, but we have not found it. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He had no choice but to activate his heavenly secret divine eyes. Soon he said in a deep voice, attack its heart. That was its weakness. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the few of them turned cold. Originally, they wanted to attack its head. This was because its weakness was usually the head. However, they did not expect Lin Xian to say that it was the heart. Although they had their doubts, they still nodded when they thought about what Lin Xian had done previously. They would attack its heart. Yi Tian, come here. The Yi family's elder did not continue to attack. Instead, he called a young man over. He felt that this was a good opportunity to train the Yi family's prodigy. Behind them, a young man flew over from the Yi family's crowd. This young man was very handsome. His black hair fluttered in the wind. He was burly and full of power. Chapter 2455. Yi Tian roared angrily as his body emitted light and crackled. The void beneath his feet instantly collapsed. This scene shocked everyone. This young man was so powerful. He seemed to be no weaker than the saint. Kill? Yi Tianlu roared. Like a demonic god, he quickly rushed over. He threw out a punch as light bloomed. The roars of dragons and tigers could be heard, causing heaven and earth to tremble. Boom. This punch was aimed at the heart of the Yin general. However, the Yin general dodged quickly and his head exploded. However, it was useless. The shattered head slowly reassembled, and the armor returned to its original state. Seeing this, the Alcade saint, Murong Qingqing, and the prince of the great Xia dynasty's eyes flickered. Indeed, the vital point was not the head. From the looks of it, it should be in the heart. At the thought of this, they did not hesitate and charged forward. Yi Tian also attacked again. Lin Xian also held the ancient dragon abyss sword and emitted a terrifying sword Dao aura. The 5 Yin generals on the other side were obviously enraged. They launched fierce attacks as ghostly chi surrounded the sky and countless resentful spirits accompanied them. Whoosh! A black light tore through the void and a Yin general appeared in front of Lin Xian. The black spear in his hand slashed down like a heavenly blade. The void shattered and split into 2. Lin Xian's body turned cold as he sensed the threat of death. The Yin general's strength was even more powerful than before. However, so what? Lin Xian snorted as tens of thousands of sword chi rushed out from his body and blocked the black spear. At the same time, his eyes were like a peerless divine sword that pierced through the void and pierced forward. Crack, crack, crack. 2 rays of sword light pierced through the Yin general's body. It was sent flying. Brr. The Yin general let out a furious roar. The ghostly qi in the sky circled around and tried to repair it. However, it did not succeed this time. The 2 rays of sword light stabbed into its body and could not be destroyed. Not only that, the sword light was destroying the Yin energy in its body. What a terrifying sword qi. What kind of sword technique was that? Everyone was shocked. Even the prince of the great Xia dynasty and the Alcade saint were shocked when they saw this scene. Lin Xian took a deep breath, his eyes flickering. Most people would have been killed by his 2 sword lights. The other party was actually fine. As expected, due to the fact that it wasn't a living being, it didn't feel any pain. Even if it was injured, its fighting prowess wouldn't fall. It was indeed troublesome. But on the surface of the ancient dragon abyss sword, a mysterious rune was unraveled, and the power of the sword qi exploded once again. Demon Sealing. Battle Song. Chaotic Pattern. Sky Shattering. The 4 ultimate moves were unleashed and everything in front of him was instantly destroyed. The Yin general was beaten to the point of hovering between life and death. His body was shattered dozens of times. However, the place where his heart was still intact. Therefore, after a dozen times, his body was once again in perfect condition. However, the Yin qi in his body had decreased by more than half. Clearly he was not unkillable. Every time he died, his Yin energy would be depleted. Even with the replenishment of Yin energy in the surroundings, it was impossible for him to return to his peak state in a short period of time. Brr. The Yin general roared in anger. His eyes shone with a cold light as Yin qi circled around his body. He charged over like a madman and another fierce battle ensued. God punishing. Lin Xian shouted coldly and unleashed the 5 ultimate moves of the chaotic heaven destroyer sword. Between heaven and earth, a mysterious sword light flashed and enveloped the Yin general in an instant. In the next moment, the Yin general's body was cut into hundreds of pieces. His heart, which was the most important part, was also pierced through by the sword. Brr. The Yin general let out an indignant roar. The black armor on his body began to disappear like smoke and quickly melted. Clang. A black bead fell from the sky. There was no corpse, only a black bead. Lin Xian frowned. He waved his hand and summoned the black bead in front of him. His eyes flickered as he looked at it carefully. He saw that the black bead was covered with mysterious patterns. They looked like strange ancient characters. He couldn't understand what they meant. Lin Xian unleashed the great dragon sword soul and unleashed countless sword qi to envelop the black bead. Then he put it away. He would study it in the future. Anyway, with the great dragon sword soul, he could destroy everything. The black bead wouldn't be able to do anything. After doing all this, Lin Xian looked around. The other 4 battles were almost over. The dragon pattern cauldron above the Alcade saint's head opened and closed. The terrifying power blasted the Yin general's back. In the hand of the prince of the skyscraper, there was a golden sword that was extremely sharp. Yi Tian was like a god of war. His fist technique was unparalleled. Murong Qingqing was like a fairy. There was a lotus flower under her feet, surrounded by countless petals. She was exceptionally beautiful. But at the same time she was extremely terrifying. In the end, the other 4 Yin generals were also killed. That was great. Seeing this scene, the surrounding martial artists of the great sage all heaved a sigh of relief. They blasted away the surrounding Yin soldiers and quickly advanced. Boom. They had just advanced 1,000 meters when a black fist suddenly appeared in front of them. It crushed the void and crashed toward them. The Yi family and the others were walking in front, so the fist directly enveloped them. Yi Tian roared and punched out. Bang bang. The 2 collided and made an earth-shattering sound. Then Yi Tian was sent flying. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He was injured. How was that possible? The Yi family martial artists were shocked and could not believe it. The surrounding people also sucked in a breath of cold air. They all stopped in their tracks and looked ahead in bewilderment. Although Yi Tian was not a saint or a sacred body, he was a young prodigy of the Yi family. His strength was absolutely terrifying. He was definitely not weaker than the saint. Coupled with the Yi family's bloodline and the terrifying body-tempering technique, no one could compete with him in close-range combat. However, the black fist in front of them directly injured Yi Tian. Who was that person? They did not dare to imagine. Lin Xian, the great Xia prince, the Alcade saint, and the other prodigies also frowned. Whoosh! Their eyes were red as they looked ahead. The void in front of them was torn apart by a pair of large black hands. Then a figure walked out. The figure was surrounded by endless black runes. There was even a nether river flowing under his feet. Yin King. The pupils of an elder of the Yi family constricted. He did not expect that in addition to the Yin soldiers and Yin generals, there was also a Yin King. The Yin generals were already so terrifying. They did not dare to imagine how powerful the Yin King was. Needless to say, he was definitely stronger than the saint. Otherwise he would not be able to send Yi Tian flying with one punch. The Yin King was not wearing armor. He was wearing an ancient robe that was also an ancient item. Some parts were broken. His skin was dry and black. It was very sturdy like black gold. He had a body. Lin Xian frowned. He realized that this was not the same as the Yin soldiers and Yin generals. The previous Yin soldiers were only wrapped in armor but did not have a body. Chapter 2456. Boom. Just as they were confused and discussing, the Yin King in front of them made his move. He slapped out with his palm and the Styx river under his feet surged. It was incomparably roaring, like a black ocean surging over. It was going to swallow everyone. Quick, defend. An elder from the Wavering Light's sacred ground exclaimed. These people did not dare to be careless and attacked one after another. They collided with the black Styx river. In the sky, intense energy exploded, and one black hole after another appeared. Finally they managed to block the terrifying palm. However, the elder's expressions were ugly. This Yin King was too terrifying. He actually retained the divine ability from when he was alive. They could tell that the palm from before was an ancient technique. 1,000 waves palm. The palm was like thousands of waves superimposed. It was very powerful. The Wavering Light Saint snorted coldly and Yi Tian's eyes lit up. I don't believe that I can't defeat him. Let's attack together. Lin Xian pulled out the ancient dragon abyss sword again and took a step forward. At the same time, Murong Qingqing beside him also came out. Shen Jingqiu also wanted to go up, but thinking about her lack of experience she decided not to. She could only cheer from the side. Brother Lin Xian, sister Qingqing, you guys can do it. On the other side, the Wavering Light Saint Yi Tian and the great Xia Prince also walked out. The 5 peerless geniuses surrounded the Yin King in front of them. The surrounding people kept retreating, creating a battlefield. They knew that a shocking battle would erupt. At this moment, everyone was silently watching. Because this was a peerless battle. The 5 peerless geniuses were all saints. How spectacular would the scene be when the 5 of them attacked? The young disciples of the great sage were extremely excited. Even the older generation figures were full of anticipation. The Yin King in front of them did not speak, but his body emitted an incomparably terrifying aura. Lin Xian and the other 4 tensed up. They felt a great pressure pressing down from the sky. It was as if the universe was going to tear their bodies apart. Boom. The Styx river under his feet suddenly spun like a black tornado, sweeping in all directions. Seeing this, Lin Xian and the other 4 moved to defend themselves. However, the water droplets flew in all directions even though the Styx river was torn apart. Some of the Holy Land martial artists were touched by these water droplets and immediately screamed. They were actually killed by a drop of water. Corpses fell to the ground one after another, and blood dyed the ground red. When the surrounding people saw this scene, their faces were filled with horror. They retreated as if they had gone mad. At the same time they activated their armor and their strongest defense. Damn it, how could it be so terrifying? They screamed. Initially, he had thought that he would be able to kill the other party with the help of the 5 geniuses. But now, it seemed that the situation was far beyond their expectations. A single drop of the black nether river beneath his feet could kill a genius from a sacred ground. This method was too terrifying. Even the elders of the Holy Lands had ugly expressions on their faces. They set up layers upon layers of formations that enveloped everyone. Immortal Palace. Elder Li and Xing Tian also took Shen Jingqiu and the other martial practitioners and quickly retreated. Xing Tian's face was solemn as he said in a deep voice. This Yin King was too terrifying. When he was alive he must have been a world-shaking peerless figure. Damn it. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian snorted coldly. The Wavering Light Saint and the others also had gloomy expressions. They did not expect the Yin King to be so terrifying. In the next moment they decisively made their move. Sky-shattering. Lin Xian swung his sword, and the integrated void completely exploded. The nether river was swallowed by the spatial cracks. In the distance, the people from the Holy Land heaved a sigh of relief after the nether river's impact was stopped. The other saints also made their move. The Yin King roared, and the air waves on his body surged into the sky. The terrifying power made everyone's scalp tingle. A cold, murderous intent shot into the sky. Lin Xian swung the Dragon Source ancient sword, and the sword chi on his body erupted. He used the God Sword technique again. In the sky, the cold ghost chi was cut into pieces. Dragon Elephant Divine Fist. At this moment, Yi Tian also made his move. His fist seemed to be able to overturn the universe. With a punch, the void collapsed and a violent force surged forward. It was as if a dragon was roaring. Sacred Light Technique. The Wavering Light Saint used the Wavering Light Holy Land's great ability, and the sky was filled with light, rushing forward. Golden Sword. The Great Xia Prince's aura of the Tao of Dragon shone brightly, and the golden sword in his hand slashed down mercilessly. It was like a peerless heavenly sword, splitting the sky in half. Flying Flower. Murong Qingqing stepped on a jade lotus and countless flowers danced around her, forming a long saber and slashed forward. The 5 great prodigies' attacks completely destroyed the void in front of them. Was it settled? Behind them, the Holy Land's martial artists were watching with rapt attention. In front of them, a disdainful sneer came from the sky filled with energy. This voice made everyone's scalp tingle and they all looked forward. They saw that the violent energy was extinguished by a large black palm. Boom. The large black palm did not stop, but turned into 5 palm prints, and slapped toward Lin Xian and the other 4. It was as if 5 dark clouds were pressing down with the power of 10,000 daos. Lin Xian and the other 4 looked solemn, and they felt that the blood in their bodies was about to freeze. Obviously this palm was too terrifying. Although it was just palm shadows, they could not take it head-on. Sword of Water. Dazzling light shrouded the sky. Wang Jinzhan. Dragon Mutual Slaughter. Water Moon Lotus Platform. Lin Xian and the other 4 unleashed their strongest moves once again and attacked. In the sky, the sound of an intense collision could be heard, and the 5 large black palms were mercilessly torn apart. The terrifying divine power rushed toward the Yin King once again. Whoosh. At this moment, 2 more black palms slapped over, and the 5 divine powers in the sky were extinguished. In the sky, a terrifying explosion could be heard, and a storm swept out in all directions. The void collapsed and the entire passageway was shaking. Lin Xian and the other 4 retreated, but the Yin King stood in the sky like a demon king, and thunder rumbled in all directions. He was not injured at all. Damn it, how could it be? How could he be so strong? Who exactly was he? Could he be an invincible king? The people from the Holy Land were horrified. Even the elders had serious expressions on their faces. They even wanted to attack together and kill the other party quickly. However, they did not do so because in front of them Lin Xian and the other 4 attacked again. Bus. Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul circulated crazily, and the 5-element sword technique was displayed to the extreme. The power of the 5 elements flashed in the sky. Those sword lights were filled with killing intent. Bang, bang, bang. The sword lights were extremely sharp, and like 5 heavenly swords, they descended from the sky and completely enveloped the Yin King. Ah! The Yin King was forced back, and the ghost chi on his body surged rapidly. What a powerful sword technique. Everyone behind was shocked. They did not expect that Lin Xian's sword technique could become stronger. Mountain Embracing Seal. Chapter 2457. The shadow of a huge mountain appeared in his arms and quickly condensed in the sky. This mountain was too terrifying. It was like a demonic mountain. It was covered with rocks and lush trees. The moment it appeared, it crushed the void and headed towards the King of Yin. Ancient technique, Mountain Embracing Seal. At this moment it was used by Yi Tian and was extremely powerful. Furious Dragon Sword Technique. The prince of the Great Xia dynasty held a golden sword surrounded by the aura of a true dragon. He struck out a golden sword light that turned into a giant dragon roaring in the sky. Holy Light Ball. The Wavering Light Saint raised his hand and struck out a terrifying golden light ball. Although it was only the size of a fist, it was too terrifying. The power on it made even the elders' eyelids twitch wildly. This was the ultimate technique of the Wavering Light Sacred Land. Catoptric Deflection. Murong Qingqing used the Jade Pool's great technique. 3 mirrors appeared between heaven and earth. They transformed into 3 half-moons and formed a triangle. The void was mercilessly cut open in an instant. The great techniques of the 5 people once again enveloped the Yin King. Bang, bang. The Yin King was beaten until he was forced to retreat. His body was filled with ghost chi. Even his cold aura had weakened a lot. Seeing this scene, Everyone was extremely excited. But soon the faces of the older generation turned ugly again, because they found that although the Yin King was suppressed, his body was not damaged at all. Even his robe was not damaged at all. How could the other party's defense be so strong? Could it be that he was really an invincible king? They were extremely shocked because the strength of Lin Xian and the other four was definitely at the level of a peerless mighty figure. And they were very terrifying existences among the peerless mighty figures. When the five of them joined forces, even a peerless mighty figure could not resist. Unless they had surpassed the realm of a peerless mighty figure and reached the realm of an invincible king. If that was the case, then it would be troublesome. An invincible king was far beyond the realm of a peerless mighty figure. It was impossible to defeat him. Don't worry, he shouldn't be an invincible king. The elder of the Wavering Light Sacred Land shook his head. If he was really an invincible king, his aura would be completely different. His current aura was still at the realm of a peerless mighty figure. Thinking about it, he must have a special ability. Or there was something wrong with that ancient Taoist robe. Hearing that he was not an invincible king, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, as long as they weren't invincible king tiers, they could be defeated. He believed that with the strength of the five geniuses, it was still possible for them to kill the other party. In front, Yin King stopped retreating. He clapped his palms together and tore apart the energy storm. At the same time, his turbid eyes suddenly lit up with a white light. Two white flames were emitted and pulsated. It was extremely strange. It looked like a flame, but it was emitting a cold aura. Spectral bone fire. Damn it, he actually managed to condense such a flame. Could it be that he could still cultivate? Seeing this scene, the faces of the surrounding elders turned incomparably ugly. Lin Xian and the other four were also shocked. That was because the impact of the two white flames on them was too great. A deathly threat instantly arose in their hearts. They knew that this was an extremely terrifying flame. They definitely couldn't resist it head-on. They had to think of a way to dodge it. Their opponent's white flames posed a great threat to them. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the dragon sword domain appeared, completely enveloping him. Ping ping ping. A low sound rang out. The white flames that filled the sky collided with the dragon sword domain, emitting the sound of ice and snow colliding. Fortunately, the dragon sword domain was formed by the great dragon sword soul. It was extremely terrifying and could destroy everything. Therefore, although the white flames were terrifying, they were still unable to break through the dragon sword domain. However, the other party's powerful strength made Lin Xian feel even more pressure. On the other side, Murong Qingqing Yi Tian, the great Xia prince, and the Alcade Saint all used their ultimate skills to block the terrifying spectral bone fire. Everyone's faces were solemn and abnormally ugly. When the various elders of the great sage saw this scene, they were extremely shocked and their scalps went numb. The five geniuses were actually suppressed. This made them unable to believe it. These were five geniuses, all of whom were at the level of saints. Any one of them could suppress a group of heroes. But now, the five of them were actually unable to deal with Yin King in front of them. Just what realm had this Yin King reached? What strength was he? They didn't dare to imagine. This person must have been an incomparably terrifying peerless figure when he was alive. Many elders were shocked. Just as they were discussing, the white flames that filled the sky also pounced towards them. These people were so frightened that their scalps went numb. Hurry up and defend. They all raised their battle armors to resist. At the same time, the turrets, shields, and all kinds of lights lit up. But it was useless. In an instant, many people let out miserable cries. All their defenses melted under the white flames. Many experts' bodies melted and were burned clean, not even leaving behind ashes. Damn it, retreat. Everyone shouted and retreated frantically. They were extremely terrified. Only now did they know what kind of pressure Lin Xian, Alcade, and the Alcade Saint were under. That was way too terrifying. So many experts were killed in an instant. The power of the white flames was truly terrifying. Elders, should we go and help? A cultivator from the Yi family asked. They looked ahead and were a little worried. The Yi family's elder's eyes flickered as he shook his head slightly. There was no need, their lives were not in danger yet. Not only the Yi family but the people of the Necrolite Sacred Ground, Immortal Palace, and the Great Xia Empire also didn't make a move. They knew that the strength of these geniuses was even more terrifying than they imagined. They were afraid that these people had not used their full strength yet. In front, Lin Xian and the other four blocked the white flames and began to counterattack. Their strength gradually increased. Lin Xian's sword Qi soared into the sky. The huge sword Qi was like a divine pillar that pierced the sky, piercing through the 9 heavens. The terrifying light was so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. Not only was it spectacular, but it was also extremely sharp. The surrounding white flames were actually extinguished by the sword chi. This scene shocked everyone. This guy was so powerful. He was actually able to extinguish such terrifying flames. Look, the Alcade Saint also made a move. Everyone exclaimed. In front, the Alcade Saint's dragon pattern cauldron was above his head, and thousands of auras drooped down. He waved his hand to activate the dragon pattern cauldron, and the 2 dragons on it roared. Countless rays of light scattered down, shattering the surrounding white flames. The great Xia prince's body was surrounded by the aura of the Tao of Dragon, and the giant golden sword in his hand was even more powerful. A vacuum area appeared beside him. Yi Tian's aura was violent, and his black hair fluttered. A huge golden giant completely enveloped him. The golden giant walked in the white flames, not afraid of the terrifying flames at all. Chapter 2458. The golden giant walked in the white flames, not afraid of the terrifying flames at all. The raging flames surrounded him, but they couldn't hurt him at all. Dragon Elephant Divine Fist. He pushed the golden giant and punched out one terrifying fist after another, shattering the void. Countless flames were suppressed in an instant. Murong Qingqing stepped on a lotus flower, countless petals dancing around her. Her hands formed a seal, forming a blue bottle above her head. A stream of silver water descended and surrounded her, extinguishing the white flames around her. The 5 geniuses walked quickly in the white flames and charged forward. In an instant they arrived near the Yin King. The Yin King roared angrily. He felt provoked. Whoosh! The aura on his body erupted again, and it was incomparably sharp. The extremely cold aura made people tremble. So terrifying. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know that in the passage behind them, a group of people had also stopped. They were Yen Ryu and the others from the Demon King Palace. They had already seen light in front of them and wanted to speed up. However, at this moment, an earth-shattering aura suddenly came from the front. It made everyone stop in their tracks. So terrifying. Whose aura was this? Could it be that the human race had such an expert? The faces of the warriors from the Demon King Palace turned pale, and their bodies trembled. Yen Ryu and Hua Tiandu's expressions were solemn. It was obvious that this aura brought them a great threat. The elders also frowned. Their eyes were like divine lamps, streaking across the void and looking into the distance. They were extremely shocked. It wasn't the human race. The others also saw it. This distance was nothing to them. Moreover, without the array they could see the situation in front of them clearly in an instant. Soon they sucked in a breath of cold air. Yin King. Yin soldiers. Damn it. How could there be so many Yin soldiers? There was actually a Yin King. They were about to go crazy. Didn't this kind of thing only exist in legends? This was probably a place to hide corpses. Look at the corpses on both sides. Something must have happened to kill all these people here. Among them there was no lack of powerful ancient experts. An elder's eyes flickered. Watindu looked around. There were human corpses everywhere. There were no corpses of the demon race. Let's not go up first. Let's wait here for those people to deal with the Yin King first. The elder suggested, and the others nodded in agreement. There was nothing he could do about it. The aura ahead was simply too terrifying. Yen Ryu's eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. However, her gaze was fixed on a figure in the distance. In front of him, Lin Xian and the other 4 geniuses were all using their trump cards to get rid of the Yin King. Heaven-destroying finger. Yi Tian roared. He stretched out a finger and pressed it forward. Boom. A gigantic golden finger appeared between the heaven and earth, crushing down on the void like a huge golden mountain pressing down from the sky. This golden finger was incomparably huge, and there were countless mysterious patterns on it. It was as if it could really destroy the world. Hand of Heaven. Murong Qingqing waved her hand. Her palm was like white jade, extremely sharp and carried a wave of immortal Tao runes. It was as if the palm of a deity was rapidly approaching. This was a great divine ability that was extremely terrifying. It was rumored that it could shatter everything. Divine Dragon's 7 steps. The royal family of the Great Xia also made their move. The phantom of a golden dragon appeared beneath his feet, and with every step he took, heaven and earth crumbled. This was a terrifying pace. Sure enough, with every step he took, the Yin King retreated a little. Mixed Yuan's sacred light technique. The Alcade Saint's sun shot out a terrifying light. Behind him, 108 godly demons circled around him. He looked like a god. This ray of light was simply too sharp. How old was the elder that felt his scalp go numb? 5 elements sword, 5 elements as one. Lin Xian did not hold back either. He combined the 5 element sword into a divine sword and directly rushed over. The power of the 5 elements surrounded it, and coupled with the power of the great dragon sword soul, it was truly terrifying. Boom, boom. The Yin King was finally beaten back. The white flames on his body and the terrifying Yin Qi had dimmed by a lot. It would be extinguished at any moment. That's great. I finally suppressed it. When the cultivators of the sacred ground saw this scene, they all cheered. In front, Lin Xian and the other 4 were also chasing after the Yin King. Lin Xian held the Dragon Source ancient sword in his hand and swung it. Every sword light carried a dense power of the 5 elements. The long sword slashed on the Yin King, and a sharp sword light shot into the sky. Murong Qingqing and the other 3 also charged over. The 5 experts surrounded the Yin King. God Punisher. On the 30th move, Lin Xian changed his sword technique. A sharp sword light, like a sword from the gods, cut through the void and pierced towards Yin King's throat. The Yin King roared and his body spun. At the same time, the white flames and terrifying Yin Qi in front of him condensed into 2 powerful defenses. Clang. The terrifying defenses were broken, and the Dragon Source ancient sword pierced towards the Yin King. However, it did not pierce the Yin King's head. Instead, it left a terrifying sword mark on his body. Black blood flowed out instantly and it was incomparably smelly. Lin Xian and the other 4 frowned. An angry roar sounded. The Yin King was furious. He had never been injured before. Another terrifying attack on the Yin King's head sent him flying again. There was even more black blood on his body. The Yin King struggled to stand up, wanting to counterattack. The mixed origin sacred light technique struck his body again, sending him flying. The Yin King charged over like a madman. In the sky, the hand of heaven slapped down mercilessly, sending him flying. The heaven-destroying finger landed on his body, causing cracks to appear on his ancient clothes. His body was sent flying. After a series of attacks, the Yin King was heavily injured, but he did not die. Not only that, he became even more violent. The Yin King pulled out a black long blade from the void. It was more than 10 meters long. Ghost Qi surrounded it as if it was pulled out from the world of death. 5 blade lights were shot out. They were incomparably black like the river Styx. They fell from the sky, bringing with them dense death energy. Not good, it's the death demonic blade. Disperse. The great Xiao Prince exclaimed. The others also defended and dodged. Lin Xian frowned. Why did the death demonic blade sound so similar to the blade technique Hui Dao used? That's right, it was indeed an ancient blade technique. The death demonic blade was a blade technique that belonged to the demonic blade. It was extremely terrifying. The Yin King definitely retained some divine abilities from when he was alive. The previous 1,000 Waves Palm and the current death demonic blade were probably his best techniques when he was alive. The great Xiao Prince explained at the side. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded in understanding. As they spoke, their bodies drew thousands of afterimages in the air. It was impossible to tell which one was real. Chapter 2459. The death demonic saber was too terrifying. The black saber light enveloped the entire space, destroying all the afterimages. Clang. A saber light slashed towards the Alcade Saint, but was blocked by the Alcade Saint's dragon pattern cauldron. Another slashed towards Murong Qingqing, but was blocked by the lotus jade platform under Murong Qingqing's feet. The third slash was blocked by Yi Tian's golden giant. The great Xia Prince used the divine dragon steps and dodged quickly. In the end, only Lin Xian was left. Lin Xian did not dodge and rushed forward. The ancient dragon abyss sword in his hand slashed open the void and collided with the death demonic saber. When the two collided, the sound of thunder was endless. Countless cracks appeared between heaven and earth, and black thunder fell from the sky. The energy was like a wave, slapping in all directions. Is this guy crazy? What is he trying to do? Does he want to fight the Yin King alone? When the surrounding people saw this scene, they exclaimed in surprise. The martial artists of the Immortal Palace were also worried. No, the young master wants the Yin King to use the death saber technique. Xing Tian frowned. Elder Li's eyes flickered. It seemed like that was the case. The death demonic saber technique was Hui Dao's saber technique, but it was not complete. Now the Immortal Palace Master saw the complete death demonic saber technique. He must want the Yin King to use it completely. Does he want to restore the saber technique? Xing Tian also took a deep breath. Not only were the two of them shocked, but the elders and experts of the Great Sage Land were also shocked. They naturally realized Lin Xian's intention. But soon some people sneered. An elder of the Five Elements Palace sneered. This kid is too greedy. Although the death demonic saber technique is an ancient saber technique, it is extremely terrifying. But it is not so easy to master. Yes, an elder of the Nine Heavens Holy Ground snorted. This is a heaven-class cultivation technique. So what if you see it once? It is impossible to unleash the essence and power of the death demonic saber. One must have the corresponding cultivation technique and path to use the death demonic saber. Who does this guy think he is? He wants to restore the ancient saber technique? The people from the 10,000 Lightning Holy Land also sneered. Up ahead, the Yao Guang Sage, the Great Xia Prince and Yi Tian also frowned. Murong Qingqing on the other hand looked worried. After blocking the death demonic blade, they also quickly rushed forward, ready to kill the enemy. This was because they did not think that Lin Xian would be able to gain anything from it. Brother Lin, use your final trump card. The prince of the Great Xia dynasty said in a deep voice. Good. Lin Xian nodded. His eyes suddenly burst with an incomparably sharp light, and the sword qi on his body rose again. One dragon after another appeared in the sky, letting out loud dragon roars. At this moment, everyone was shocked and their expressions changed. The members of the royal family were especially terrified. No way, this is the aura of the Tao of Dragons. How could he have the aura of the Tao of Dragons? Moreover, it was so terrifying. It was even related to swordsmanship. They were all dumbfounded. The other party was not a member of the imperial family, so how could he know this kind of cultivation technique? The prince of the Great Xia dynasty was also surprised. However, he quickly regained his senses. He used the divine dragon's 7 steps to the extreme, and the last step pressed down from the sky. It was so powerful that it directly shattered the entire void. The death demonic blade's radiance was shattered, and King Yin retreated. Whoosh! Lin Xian made his move. A dragon's roar and a sword's cry rang out. The terrifying dragon-shaped sword shadow, the power of the 5 elements and the chaotic heaven destroyer sword rushed over together. Boom! The power of this sword was too terrifying, and it directly destroyed a large number of the death demonic blades. Between heaven and earth, the sword qi rushed in all directions, making everyone unable to open their eyes. The Yao Guang Sage and Murong Qingqing also used their final trump cards. Thousands of rays of light shrouded the front, and the terrifying energy kept bombarding. It was not until a long time later that the bright light in the sky disappeared. In front, the storm also gradually subsided. Everyone looked forward carefully. They wanted to know what happened to King Yin. Great, he was killed. Many warriors of the sacred land of life cheered because they found that King Yin was lying on the ground, motionless, and had no breath. The white flame in his eyes had disappeared, and the Yin qi on his body had also disappeared. He became a corpse again. However, the elders of the sacred land gasped. Such a terrifying attack, but the opponent's body did not completely shatter, and only a few wounds appeared. It was too horrifying. But fortunately the opponent was killed. Sure enough, when King Yin died, the surrounding Yin soldiers and Yin generals also quickly retreated. They entered the corpse one after another and lay down again. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and their faces were wild with joy. Great, they finally chased away these Yin soldiers. In front, Lin Xian and the other 4 figures also swayed and returned to their respective camps. Young Lord, Palace Master. Seeing Lin Xian return, the people of Immortal Palace were also very excited, because their palace master was too handsome. Shen Jingxiu was even more excited and she waved her pink fists. It's not good to stay here for long, let's leave quickly, Lin Xian said. Then he led the crowd forward quickly. The people of the other sacred lands also left quickly. In the passage behind, when the people of Demon King Palace saw this scene, they also said, "Let's go." They also followed closely behind. Otherwise, if the Yin soldiers resurrected after the other party left, they would be in trouble. They quickly moved their bodies and followed after him. When the people of Demon King Palace appeared, the people of the great sage sects in front frowned, because they felt a new power joining them. For a moment, countless gazes looked over. Lin Xian also turned his head to look. He was stunned because he saw Yen Ruyu. However, when he saw the strangely shaped cultivators that resembled demons beside the other party, he couldn't help but frown. Elderly said, Palace Master, they are from Demon King Palace. Demon King Palace. It was a sacred ground in the South Mountain. Most of the people there were related to the demon race, but they were basically half demons or the descendants of mutated species. Most of these people knew the demon race's great abilities, and they were abnormally terrifying. Moreover, their physiques were very strong, and they were not weaker than the warriors of the Four Symbols Sacred Ground. They were here too. Many people from the sacred lands exclaimed. They did not notice Demon King Palace before and thought that they did not come. They did not expect them to be following behind. The friends of Demon King Palace were very free. An elder from the Great Evolution Sacred Ground snorted. You want us to lead the way while you reap without sowing? There was no such thing in the world. The people of Five Elements Palace also darkened their faces. The eyes of the others flickered. They were also not very friendly to the newcomers from Demon King Palace. Firstly, they were humans, and the other party was a half-demon with the bloodline of the demon race. Naturally, they were seen as aliens by the sacred lands. Moreover, the other party was too cunning. He followed behind them and reaped the benefits without suffering any harm. Chapter 2460. This is the tomb of the demon race's saint. How dare you humans come in here? At this moment, the Demon King Palace's martial artists also roared. Hearing this, the great sage frowned. Demon Saint's tomb? They didn't think so. Who told you that this was the tomb of the demon saint? An elder of the Nine Heavens Sacred Ground said with a cold expression. That's right. Look at this place, it doesn't look like the tomb of the demon race at all. This is obviously the tomb of the human race's saint. T. The gate at the beginning was written in the language of the demon race. How dare you say that this is not the tomb of the demon race? The Demon King Palace's martial artists couldn't take it anymore and roared. Scales even began to appear on some parts of their bodies. Terrifying demon chi spread out from their bodies. Okay, stop arguing. It's not good to stay here for long. Let's leave first. The Yi family's people stood out. The Wavering Light Sacred Grounds elder also said, let's leave first. After saying that, they led their disciples and walked forward. Seeing this, the other sacred grounds also left. Indeed, who knew if those Yin soldiers would come again? It was better to leave first. Many people snorted and looked at the Demon King Palace with a trace of coldness in their eyes. The people of the Demon King Palace also glared. Lord, let's go. Elderly asked. Yes. Lin Xian nodded, but he didn't move immediately. Instead, he looked into the distance. He looked at Yen Ryu. What a coincidence, we meet again. Yes, I didn't expect to see you here. Yen Ryu also smiled. Her smile stunned everyone around her. Even those Holy Land martial artists who were hostile to the Monster Emperor before couldn't help but gulp at this moment. What a beautiful woman. Who is she? Is she the saintess of the Demon King Palace? They didn't know, but she was definitely not ordinary. The young man beside her was the saintess of the Demon King Palace. How did this kid know someone from the Demon King Palace? They looked at Lin Xian with a puzzled face. Even the people of the Immortal Palace were surprised. Lord. Elder Li's eyes were filled with doubt. Lin Xian smiled. Alright, let's go. He gave Yen Ryu another look and then, together with Shinjingqiu, Murong Qingqing and the others from Immortal Palace, walked forward with large steps. Ryu, who is this brat? Huaqindu frowned as he watched Ling Xian and the others leave. There was a cold gleam in his eyes. An old friend. Yen Ryu said indifferently. She didn't say anything else. Hearing this, Huaqindu's brows furrowed even tighter. Old friend? How could the other party have an old friend? The other party's old friend should also be a member of their demon group. Why would it have such a strange relationship with a human boy? Go and find out who this brat is and what his identity is. Huaqindu sent a sound transmission to the people beside him. Whoosh. The three experts from the Demon King Palace behind him disappeared in a flash. This scene was naturally captured by Yen Ryu, but she did not say anything. Soon, the people from the Demon Monarch Palace also walked forward. After leaving the place where the Yin soldiers were, the main hall appeared in front of them again. And this time, the main hall was clearly divided into many areas, and every place seemed to have an ancient aura. There was something. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the warriors from the Great Sage Land lit up. They moved quickly. The main hall was so big that it was unimaginable. Therefore, these warriors from the Holy Land could not help but speed up. There were fragments here. Not long after, a cry of surprise was heard. One of them was holding a broken shadow in his hand. It seemed to be a fragment of a weapon and it was very broken. One could tell at a glance that it was from a long time ago. However, everyone was extremely excited. because there were Dao patterns on the weapon. This was definitely something good. These Dao patterns were passed down from ancient times. If they could comprehend them and engrave them on their weapons, the power would definitely increase by several times. Therefore, at this moment, everyone went crazy. They quickly searched the surroundings. Peacock Elderly, bring some people with you, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Soon, Peacock and Elderly led the warriors from the Immortal Palace behind them to search the secret rooms. Xing Tian stayed beside Lin Xian. Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing also stayed here. Big brother Lin Xian, let's go take a look too. Xin Jingqiu was also very excited. Okay. Lin Xian smiled and nodded. The group also walked forward. Although there were only 4 of them, the strength of the 4 of them was simply too powerful. 3 saints, 1 super expert, and the Crimson Divine Dragon were enough to fend off an army of thousands. That woman again. I'm not going in. Xin Jingqiu saw a figure in front of her and pouted. She was very unhappy. She pulled Lin Xian. Big brother Lin Xian, don't go in either. You little girl, are you jealous? Lin Xian smiled and pinched Xin Jingqiu's little face. Xin Jingqiu was very unhappy. Yes, I'm angry. It turned out that Yan Ruyu and the others were standing in a secret room not far away. Xin Jingqiu was very jealous when she saw Lin Xian and Yan Ruyu's expressions. However, Murong Qingqing, who was standing on the side, knew something. She asked, Big brother Xian, is this Yan Ruyu really an old friend of yours? It should be close. I just don't know what her identity is now. What identity can she have? She must be a demon. Didn't you see her with the people from the Demon Imperial Palace? Chiu, don't talk nonsense. Murong Qingqing shook her head. Okay. Xin Jingqiu was unwilling, but she didn't say anything. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and didn't go in immediately, because he discovered that there was a conflict between the people from the Demon Imperial Palace and the Sacred Land. The people who were in conflict with the Demon Imperial Palace were the people from the 5 Elements Palace. The martial artists of the 5 Elements Palace snorted coldly. People from the Demon Imperial Palace, get out of here. This place belongs to our 5 Elements Palace. Get out? Your 5 Elements Palace is too arrogant. You actually dare to show off in front of our Demon Phoenix Palace? Could it be that you want to die? The experts from the Demon Imperial Palace shouted coldly. One of the elders even snorted coldly. This is the ancient tomb of our demon saint. The ones who should get out are you humans. Demon Saint's ancient tomb? What a joke. Don't flatter yourself. What kind of place is this? Does it show the aura of the demon race? This is clearly the ancient tomb of our human race's saint. Look at these ancient ruins, do you think they belong to your demon race? Other than you demons, I can't see any other demons here. You humans always know how to quibble. However, my Demon Imperial Palace will not be afraid of you. If you want to start a war, then fight. Chapter 2461. Let's fight then, why should I be afraid of you? The people of the 5 Elements Palace did not back down. No matter what, they were still a peerless sect. How could they be afraid of these demons? Go to hell. A disciple of the 5 Elements Palace attacked. Was a young man. He punched out and countless stone hands appeared in the sky, blasting towards the people of the Demon Imperial Palace. Courting death. The people of the Demon Imperial Palace were also angry. The other party actually dared to attack them. He was really courting death. At this moment, Hua Tiandu and Yan Ryu did not attack. The elders of the Demon Imperial Palace also did not attack. The bronze bull who spoke before made his move. Boom. He stomped his foot and swung his head. His 2 horns suddenly enlarged, turning into dozens of meters and directly smashing into the void. Boom boom boom. It shattered all the stone hands in the sky. Not only that, but its sharp horns also charged forward. Boom. The disciple of the 5 Elements Palace who attacked was sent flying. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood and many of his bones were broken. What 5 Elements Palace? Trash. If you dare to be arrogant again, don't blame me for starting a massacre. The Oxhead's voice was cold and carried boundless killing intent. Courting death. Another expert walked out of the 5 Elements Palace. It was a woman with a beautiful appearance and wearing colorful clothes. At this moment, her jade lotus was cold, and her beautiful eyes were filled with endless coldness. Xiao waved his hand and blue light bloomed on her body, forming a continuous wave. Rain fell from the sky. It covered the sky and covered the earth, sprinkling forward. This was no ordinary rainwater. Every droplet was sparkling and translucent, carrying boundless killing intent. They formed a large blue net that enveloped the Minotaur. You want to hurt me with mere rain? The ox had sneered. He punched out, completely tearing the entire sky apart. The rain that filled the sky was impacted by the energy and kept shaking in the sky. However, this was the power of water, and it carried endless killing intent. Soon, the rain pierced through the void and blasted the ox head's body. Clang, 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 clang. Sounds like thunder rang out one after another, and the ox head kept retreating. However, he was not injured. His physique was simply too strong. Ah! You want to hurt me with mere rain? You're overestimating yourself. Bitch, go to hell. The Minotaur stretched out a hand and grabbed forward. The woman's face was pale and her body swayed. However, at this moment, a golden light appeared within the blue light on her body. A golden saber light burst out of his body and slashed forward. This saber slashed apart all of the attacks and cut open the opponent's palm. Blood dyed the sky red, and the Minotaur cried out in pain. Damn it, how dare you hurt me? Demon Ox Fist. He was truly enraged. Countless terrifying fists appeared in the sky, smashing down like meteors. The entire sky shattered and shrouded the woman. Boom. The golden saber swung and closed, sweeping in all directions. As the two collided, countless sparks erupted. Damn it. Go for me. Seeing this scene, the people from the Demon Royal Palace roared in anger. Several powerful demon kings rushed over. Seeing this scene, the people of the Five Elements Palace also shouted coldly and sent out their experts. Everyone fought together and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The entire secret chamber was shaking. Fortunately, there was a strong barbaric aura above the secret chamber, which blocked the terrifying energy impact. Otherwise, not to mention the secret chamber, the entire ancient tomb would be destroyed. Wotiendu, come and fight. The Five Elements Saint stepped out, and the power of the Five Elements spread out from his body. Behind him was a Five Elements mountain. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Wotiendu stepped out, and the demonic power on his body surged like a vast ocean, shattering the void. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people retreated and distanced themselves. The martial artists from the other sacred grounds and sects also looked over when they saw this scene. Lin Xian and the others narrowed their eyes. Wotiendu, the saint of the Demon Royal Palace. They wondered how strong he was. Whoosh. In front, the Five Elements Saint made his move. Five Elements light flickered under his feet, and his body rushed over like lightning. He struck out with his palm. The golden palm was like a raging wave, shattering the void and shrouding Wotiendu. You want to fight me in close combat? You must be tired of living. Wotiendu let out a long roar, and a purple light circulated around his body. He clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and punched out, colliding with the terrifying golden palm. The battle between the two was very intense, and the eyelids of the surrounding people twitched. Lin Xian also looked over with rapt attention. Wasn't this Wotiendu's physique too strong? Did the demon clan all have such strong physiques? The battle ahead was very intense. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he scanned the battlefield. Then he looked at a wall. There was a picture on the wall. It was a stone painting with Dao patterns on it. There were a total of 6 Dao patterns. That was really incredible. That was because an ordinary broken ancient treasure would at most have 1 or 2 Dao patterns on it, and that was enough to make everyone go crazy. But this stone painting had 6 Dao patterns on it, which was absolutely shocking. No wonder the people from the Five Elements Palace and the Demon Royal Palace were fighting. No matter who saw it, they would probably go crazy. Moreover, under the stone painting, there were a few fragments which were also ancient treasure fragments. Little White, take out those ancient treasures first. Lin Xian grabbed Little White Monkey, and Little White used Treasure Bowl to take out the 2 fragments. Seeing this scene, the dark red divine dragon laughed. Haha, there were indeed Dao patterns. Among the 2 fragments, one had 1 Dao pattern, and the other had 1.5 Dao patterns. These Dao patterns were extremely mysterious and different from now. It was obvious that they were from the ancient era. If they could understand the secrets and profoundness inside, it would definitely increase their strength greatly. Little White, go get that stone painting and see if you can take it down. The dark red divine dragon said. Little White tried and found that it was impossible. He reckoned that with the Snow White little monkey's current strength, he could at most retrieve 2 Dao patterns from thin air. He wouldn't be able to retrieve any more. It seemed that they could only snatch it. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Xin Jingqiu was also very excited. She blinked her crescent-shaped eyes. I'm so excited. Hurry up and do it. I can't wait anymore. This little girl liked to fight now. After all, although she was powerful and had reached the saintess level. But normally she didn't have many opportunities to fight. Therefore her actual combat experience wasn't that strong. Now the little girl urgently wanted to fight to improve herself. Alright, let's go all out, Lin Xian added. After all, the people around him were all at the level of saints. In addition to Dark Red Shenong and Xing Tian, they were definitely incomparably powerful. Although such a team had few people, they weren't weak at all compared to the two major forces inside. Let's wait and let the people inside exhaust themselves. When they're almost done fighting, we'll go. Chapter 2462. The battle in front was extremely intense. No one from the Five Elements Palace or the Demon King Palace was willing to back down. After all, the temptation of 6 Dao patterns was simply too great for them. In an instant, the sky was filled with dazzling light as terrifying auras filled the air. All kinds of weapons collided in the sky, making intense sounds. Every collision tore the sky apart, causing huge cracks to appear one after another. Those who passed by felt their scalps go numb when they saw such an intense battle. They didn't dare to get close at all and stayed far away. Therefore they didn't know that there was a stone painting with 6 Dao patterns inside. Among them, the 5 Elements Saint and Hua Tiandu were the fiercest. Both of them were saints and were extremely powerful. If they attacked now, they would definitely be able to destroy one side. The martial artists who were close to them exploded into a bloody mist. Boom. An elder from the 5 Elements Palace was caught off guard and was hit by the shockwave. Half of his body instantly split open. He screamed as his scalp went numb. He immediately retreated. Half of his body was already broken, and his internal organs were exposed. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The elder from the 5 Elements Palace used a secret technique to quickly heal his broken body. Soon he was back to normal. However, the elder's face was extremely pale. At their level they could recover from ordinary injuries. At the Invincible King level they were even more powerful. As long as their soul wasn't destroyed, they could be reborn. It was said that at the saint level they were even more terrifying. Even if their physical body and soul were destroyed, they could be reborn as long as there was a drop of blood. Although they couldn't do that now, as long as it wasn't a fatal injury, they could still recover. It was just that the consumption was greater. The elder recovered and let out a furious roar. He led the 3 young disciples and charged forward once again. This time they stared at Yenryu, because they realized that there was no one around her. Kill. The elder was an almighty, and the 3 young disciples behind him were also almighty geniuses. At this moment, the 4 of them attacked together, and the scene was extremely terrifying. In an instant, they tore through the void and arrived in front of Yenryu. Yenryu raised her head to look at this scene, and the corners of her mouth curled up in disdain. Buzz. Countless amounts of energy gathered behind her. It formed a pair of golden wings. She gently fanned them. Swoosh. The light in the sky turned into golden divine swords that pierced through the void. Boom. Boom. The golden swords that filled the sky enveloped the 4 people. Damn it. The elder from the 5 Elements Palace was sent flying again. There were 6 golden divine swords piercing through his body. His entire body was covered in cracks and he almost fell apart. As for the 3 disciples behind him, they were killed with a single slash. Damn it, how could she be so strong? The elders of the 5 Elements Palace were stunned. Who was this person? Holy Maiden of the Demon King Palace? But that shouldn't be the case. Even if she was the Holy Maiden, it was impossible for her to severely injure him in one move. When the others saw this scene, they were all stunned. Everyone in the 5 Stars Palace looked at Yenryu, their scalps going numb. Originally they had wanted to kill this peerless beauty, but now they no longer dared to do so. The strength this woman displayed was even more terrifying than Hua Tiandu's. In the distance, Lin Xian and the others who were hiding in the void cried out in surprise when they saw this scene. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He didn't expect Yenryu to be so powerful. She had probably surpassed the average saint and reached the level of a top saint. This girl was so fierce. The dark red divine dragon was also shocked. Those golden divine swords made it tremble a little. It carefully sensed it and then said, "Boy, this girl is not simple. The bloodline in her body is not ordinary. I feel that her bloodline seems to be even stronger than that of the Demon King Palace's saint. But I don't know what it is exactly." Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu also had serious expressions. Beside them, Xing Tian's eyes flickered. He suggested, "Young master, it's best for us to launch a blitzkrieg attack. We can't be entangled with them." He realized that there were too many powerhouses from the 2 holy lands. No matter how powerful they were, if they were trapped, it would be difficult for them to escape. Okay, let's wait a little longer. When they're almost done fighting, we'll make our move. Ruffian Long set up the array first. Let's work together and not separate. We'll take the treasures directly. After that, we'll use the array to teleport. Also, don't use the ultimate techniques of your holy lands. Don't expose our identities. Got it? Everyone nodded. You've made me excited. The dark red divine dragon chuckled and took out 5 or 6 arrays. The battle in front of them was almost over. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Let's go. Everyone turned into a torrent and rushed over. The people from the 5 Elements Palace and the Demon King Palace who were fighting in front of them suddenly frowned, and their expressions became extremely unsightly. That was because they discovered that a powerful and violent force was surging toward them. Damn it. Oh no. Someone is coming. They wanted to counterattack, but soon they were all blasted away, flying backwards. Many people's bodies directly split open. The weaker ones were directly blasted into a bloody mist. The stronger ones were also injured. In an instant, a vacuum appeared in the hall. Damn it. Who's that? Those people roared angrily. They did not expect that someone would dare to come and snatch the treasures. This is unforgivable. However, they could not see clearly at all. There were countless black clouds in front of them that enveloped everything. The souls and eyes of those elders could not escape at all. Damn it, get lost. Seeing the other party rushing over, a green figure from the Demon King Palace flew up. He had a pair of lightning wings behind his back, and his body was surrounded by a sea of lightning. There were scales on his face. It was a thunderbird. At this moment he was charging toward the black mist in front of him. Before he got close, his body emitted crackling sounds and countless lightning bolts fell in all directions. The sky was directly shattered, and the violent sea of lightning shrouded the black mist. Go to hell. This thunderbird was also a powerful sky pride of the Demon King Palace, and he had the bloodline of a mutated species. Boom boom boom. A low voice sounded, and a palace appeared in the black mist, soaring into the sky. The palace was very hazy, like a demonic palace, and it emitted a monstrous aura. As soon as it appeared, it tore the sea of lightning apart and floated in the sky. Damn it, what is that? Everyone was shocked. However, a ray of light shone from the black palace and directly hit the thunderbird, sending him flying. Poof! The thunderbird spat out blood and flew out, smashing the void. Damn it, why is it so strong? This is the superpower of the 9 heavens holy ground. Everyone looked at the black palace and frowned, especially those from the 5 Elements Palace, whose faces were gloomy. Chapter 2463. The people from 5 Elements Palace looked gloomy. Damn it, you're from the 9 heavens sacred ground. They roared crazily with ferocious expressions. However, a sneer came from the black mist. No one answered. The black mist rushed toward the mural at an even faster speed. The power was so terrifying that it directly shattered the void. Damn it, this is bad. His target is the stone mural. Everyone exclaimed and tried to stop him. Soon someone screamed. Damn it, where are the 2 fragments of the ancient treasures? They found that the 2 fragments at the bottom of the mural were gone. This made them go crazy. After all, those were ancient treasures with Dao runes inscribed on them. They did not know that Lin Xian and the others had taken them away. They thought that someone from both sides had secretly taken them away. If they knew the truth, they would definitely vomit blood. That's right, Lin Xian and the others were in the black mist. They didn't use their best skills but concealed their identities. Among them, Lin Xian was more skilled. The great dragon sword soul simulated everything. He had seen Jiuxiao Seiko fight before, so he could simulate some of the 9 heavens sacred ground skills. Damn it, get lost. Countless people attacked crazily. However, a terrifying array formation appeared in the black mist and shrouded the surrounding people. These were all terrifying killing arrays. As soon as they appeared, flames, lightning, and storms all swept over. This caused the people who had just arrived to dodge and defend themselves. Boom. In an instant, many people did not have time to care about the black mist. However, there were also experts among them. A man with an elephant trunk rushed over and punched out. At the same time, his elephant trunk rolled up and the sky exploded. A terrifying storm swept over. This was the giant demon elephant. He had the bloodline of an ancient giant demon beast. The power of his attack was unimaginable. His strength had reached the level of a prospective saint. Unfortunately, he encountered Lin Xian and the others this time. And it was not just one person. 3 geniuses and 2 peerless experts attacked together. Boom. The giant demon elephant's body exploded into pieces in an instant. What? The giant demon elephant was killed? The Demon King Palace's people were all stunned. How was this possible? Who was it? Could it be that he was an invincible king? The giant demonic elephant was extremely powerful. Even if the opponent was a holy prince or an elder, it was impossible for them to kill it with a single palm strike. Not good. They were not alone. The elders of the Demon Imperial Palace roared in anger. They realized that the other party's strength was strong, but it was obvious that they were not of the same attribute. Evidently, a lot of people had made their moves. For a moment, these elders also stepped forward to resist. The people from the 5 Elements Palace also joined in the fight. The 5 Elements Saint and Huatindu also stopped attacking. The 2 of them also tried to intercept him. Many experts blocked the black fog. Within the black fog, Lin Xian growled and attacked. Xing Tian was the first to attack. He moved his fist and a terrifying light illuminated the sky. This punch was a type of lightning fist. It was called the Thunder Tiger Fist. The lightning that filled the sky interweaved to form a lightning tiger, shattering the void. The terrifying light pierced through the 9 heavens. Lin Xian also made his move. He controlled the black palace in the sky and pressed it down. It was like a demonic mountain, shattering the void. The qi and blood in the bodies of those cultivators were surging. Their internal organs were severely injured. It was too terrifying. Who was this person? They resisted madly. At this moment, the dark red divine dragon made his move. The dragon blood in his body surged and transformed into a few giant pythons. He did not transform into a dragon because he wanted these people to think that it was the myriad poison sect who had attacked. As expected, the giant pythons carried his dragon blood and were extremely corrosive. Therefore, as soon as they appeared, they attacked the people from the 5 Elements Palace and the Demon Imperial Palace. Sizzling sounds came from those people's bodies. Their flesh and bones melted quickly as if snow had encountered the sun. These people screamed and rolled in the air. The others roared in anger. Damn it, it's poisonous. It's the myriad poison sect. Could it be that the myriad poison sect and the 9 heavens sacred ground had joined forces? Huatindu snorted coldly. His voice was like thunder resounding through the sky. He slapped down with his palm. Countless demonic runes shone in his palm, as if the palm of a heavenly demon had descended from the sky. It completely enveloped all of the black mist. Huatindu was extremely terrifying. As the saint of the Demon Imperial Palace, not only was he powerful, but he also had a top-notch bloodline power. The 5 Elements Saint also made his move. He struck out a 5 Elements mountain and collided with the demonic palace in the sky. Huatindu faced Xing Tian, while the 5 Elements Saint faced Lin Xian. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. However, until now they still did not know who was inside the black mist. At this moment, Murong Qingqing and Xinjingqiu also made their move. Another 2 waves of violent energy surged out, causing everyone's expression to change. Damn it, how could there be so many experts? These elders were stunned. The 5 Elements Saint and Huatindu also had gloomy expressions. This was because they realized that the 2 new forces that appeared were definitely not weaker than them. They were at least at the level of a saint or a peerless expert. How could the other party have so many experts? They had joined forces. Which sacred grounds and sects had joined forces? They did not know. They roared like crazy. However, they could not defeat Lin Xian and Xing Tian, not to mention attacking Xinjingqiu and Murong Qingqing. In addition to the violent array formation around them, the battle was very intense. However, although these people were angry, they still heaved a sigh of relief. This was because they realized that they had stopped these people. Although these people were strong, they did not have many people. If both parties attacked together, it would be enough to stop the other party. As long as they controlled the other party and restrained them, they could slowly make the other party reveal their true forms. However, this was a good idea, but they did not see it. Behind them, near the mural, a white light flashed. Immediately after, a white little monkey appeared in mid-air. It looked at the mural in front of it and grinned. In the next moment, Little White waved its little paws and grabbed the stone engraving. Then it used its strength and broke it off the wall. Whoosh, it kept it in the treasure bowl. The whole process was very fast. In addition, no one thought that someone would secretly steal it. Therefore, when they came back to their senses, they only saw a flash of white light. Damn it! The treasure map was stolen. What? Hearing this, the people of the Five Elements Palace and Demon Imperial Palace stopped attacking. They all turned their heads to look behind them. They realized that the wall behind them was empty. The treasure map with 6 Dao patterns had disappeared. Damn it, how could this be? Everyone roared crazily. Chapter 2464. Wuxia was equally shocked. His purple hair fluttered like a devil as countless purple lightning bolts appeared on his body. Once the lightning bolts appeared, it instantly enveloped the entire space and sealed off every inch of space. A cold voice rang out. No matter who you are, you must die today. No one in this world can save you if you dare to touch what I want. Hearing this voice, some people felt a chill in their hearts. Yen Ryu's eyes flickered, but she did not make a move. Actually, she wanted to make a move, but she saw the little white monkey. She even saw the entire process of the little white monkey stealing the treasure map. Therefore, she did not make a move. Instead, her eyes flickered and a mysterious smile appeared on her lips. So it was him. Yen Ryu said indifferently, then she stood aside. Her body emitted rays of light that blocked all the energy in waves. However, she had no intention of making a move. Boom. The battle ahead was still ongoing. However, it was obvious that the 5-star Saint and Wuxia were both provoked. Especially Wuxia, who was extremely furious. His body was filled with murderous intent because he could not tolerate that someone dared to steal the treasure he wanted in front of him. His eyes emitted purple lightning that pierced through the void, but it could not pierce through the black mist. Go. Seeing that the little white monkey had succeeded, Lin Xian was overjoyed in the black mist. Whoosh. They turned around and retreated backward. You want to leave? Not so easy. Wuxia was furious. He was like a thunder god as the lightning bolts on his body spread in all directions and completely sealed off the entire sky. Buzz. His eyes stared at the black mist. How dare you use lightning in front of me? Go to hell. His opponent was Xing Tian. Previously, Xing Tian had used the Thunder Tiger Fist, which formed a lightning tiger in the sky that bared its fangs and brandished its claws. As for Wuxia, he had not used the Thunder Fist technique previously. However, he finally could not hold it in anymore. His body was surrounded by lightning bolts. He was a lightning-type martial artist, and his lightning was extremely terrifying. It was his inheritance and bloodline. Today I will let you know what the true divine lightning is. Wuxia's voice was cold. As his eyes moved, the purple lightning split the void and formed a sea of lightning. With a palm strike, thousands of lightning bolts roared and countless lightning runes flickered on his palm. In the sky, Xing Tian's lightning tiger was swallowed in an instant and then torn into pieces. This guy's lightning was very special. Xing Tian also furrowed his brows. He wanted to change his cultivation technique, but at this moment Lin Xian said, "Don't fight him head-on. Let's leave first." If he wanted to fight, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Yes. Xing Tian didn't attack again. Instead, he defended together and prepared to retreat. Ruffian Dragon, it's all up to you now. Don't worry, I've already prepared it. The dark red dragon took out a set of array formations. The formation enveloped them completely. The void split open and everyone disappeared. Seeing that the other party did not attack again, Wuxia sneered. He thought that the other party was afraid. Indeed, no one could surpass him in terms of lightning. But in the next moment he frowned. That was because he discovered that the other party had actually torn through the void and disappeared. Damn it, he escaped. Purple lightning purgatory. Lock it down. Wuxia bellowed as 100,000 lightning bolts surged forth, forming a lightning purgatory that completely sealed off the entire space. He wouldn't give the other party any chance to escape. However, the space created by the dark red dragon was indeed mysterious and extremely fast. Therefore, Wuxia's purple demon purgatory couldn't lock down the other party at all. The 5 Elements Saint also raised his hand and struck out with the 5 Elements Mountain. It covered a corner of the sky as he tried to suppress the space. But he also failed. Damn it, he managed to escape. The 5 Elements Saint gritted his teeth. Wuxia roared at the sky as the lightning bolts on his body shot out in all directions. Those from the 5 Elements Palace vomited blood and were sent flying. Damn it, I don't care who you are, I'll definitely kill you. 9 Heavens Holy Ground, 10,000 Poisons Sect, I'll remember you. The elders from the 5 Elements Palace also shouted angrily. Let's go. The 5 Elements Saint waved his hand and was about to leave with a gloomy face. But in the next moment he frowned. That was because he discovered that Wuxia was blocking his way again. Get lost. The 5 Elements Saint shouted coldly. He was in a bad mood. However, Huotiandu was filled with killing intent. Damn it, it's all because of you idiots from the Five Elements Palace. How dare you stop me? You made me lose my treasure. All of you must die. As he spoke, Huotiandu cast the Thunder Purgatory again and enveloped the Five Elements Saint and the people from the Five Elements Palace. You're courting death. The people from the Five Elements Palace were also furious. The Five Elements Saint even shouted coldly. How could they be blamed for Huotiandu's entry? They were the ones who found the treasure first. If anyone were to be angry, it should be the Five Elements Palace. Huotiandu, you're too arrogant. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? The Five Elements power on the Five Elements Saint burned fiercely as the terrifying Five Elements mountain appeared behind him and emitted a terrifying aura. Boom. The two of them started fighting. The people from the Demon King Palace and the Five Elements Palace started fighting again. This time it was even more intense than before. On the other side, Lin Xian and the others used the space array to tear open the void and teleport out. Whoosh. They appeared in a corner. They looked around and realized that not many people were paying attention to them. Let's go. Lin Xian waved his hand, and these people moved again and changed many positions. They then stopped. The black aura on their bodies dissipated and everyone smiled. This thing can't be separated. Let's quickly comprehend it. Lin Xian took out the treasure map. In the next moment, Murong Qingqing, Xin Jingqiu and the others all sat down. The dark red divine dragon formed countless defensive arrays. The group quickly comprehended the treasure map. Among them, Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing looked even more solemn. Mysterious runes flickered in their eyes, and the aura on their bodies was extremely terrifying. The most important thing for them was to completely memorize the 6 Dao patterns on the treasure map. They couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing were quickly memorizing the treasure map. Lin Xian's eyes also flickered. However, at this moment he suddenly frowned, and a cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. Whoosh! He decisively made his move. With a wave of his hand, the sword chi light pierced through the distance. Boom! Boom! 2 deep sounds rang out and 2 figures were shaken out. Their faces were filled with fear. They didn't expect the other party to discover them. Demon race? Seeing the 2 figures, Lin Xian frowned. Beside him, Xing Tian's face was also gloomy. Why were the demon race following them? Were they planning to launch a sneak attack? Xing Tian, you continue to stay here and protect us. I'll go and deal with these 2 guys. Yes. Xing Tian stood up and protected Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu. Lin Xian's figure flashed and he quickly chased after them. Chapter 2465. The 2 demon race powerhouses saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly fled. Whoosh! However, their path was blocked because a figure was faster than them and directly blocked their path. So fast. The person on the left exclaimed, while the demon race powerhouse on the right snorted coldly and quickly attacked. Bang! The pitch-black claw lashed out with a terrifying aura, shrouding Lin Xian in an instant. Boom! Lin Xian's gaze was cold as he struck out with his palm. The sun, moon, and stars revolved in his palm and collided with the terrifying black palm. A terrifying power erupted. In the next moment, the demon race powerhouse screamed because his black palm was directly obliterated. Not only that, the sun-moon divine palm also enveloped him. Damn it! The demon race powerhouse roared and charged in all directions. However, he could not break through it all. Whoosh! 2 black wings suddenly grew out from his back and his face became ferocious. Many black patterns appeared on his body and he looked like a human-shaped bat. Bat King. This was an expert from the demon race. With a furious roar, he opened his bloody mouth and directly crushed the stars in the sky. Want to trap me? You're overestimating yourself. Bat King sneered and wanted to escape. However, in the next moment, an even more terrifying palm slapped down and directly smashed his body, shattering all his bones. With a bang, Bat King fell to the ground and was completely enveloped by the Sword of Earth. If you dare to move again, I can guarantee that you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded. He turned his head and stared at the other person. When the other person saw the scene, he roared and the scales on his body rapidly grew. A tail appeared on his back and a single horn grew on his forehead. That was Giant Snake King. When he saw that the situation was not right, he immediately shattered the void and wanted to leave. That was because the other party's methods were too terrifying, far beyond his imagination. Lin Xian sneered and shattered the void with a punch. Then, his finger reached into the black hole and grabbed Giant Snake King. He exerted force in his palm and crushed all the bones in Giant Snake King's body. He also sealed his power and threw him to the ground. The two powerful demon kings were struggling furiously, but there was nothing they could do. They could only stare angrily in front of them. However, Lin Xian did not care at all. He turned his head and looked at another void. There was no one there. However, Lin Xian said in a deep voice, "Come out, I know you are there. Kid, I have to say, your strength has indeed exceeded my expectations." Another figure appeared from the void. This was also a demon clan powerhouse. His aura was even stronger than that of Bat King and Giant Snake King combined. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He could feel that the other party's aura was very strong, not weaker than the Holy Sun's. "Brat, you're dead meat." Although Lord Mengqi was not the saint, he was the youngest elder. His strength is beyond your imagination. That's right, our master Mengqi possesses the bloodline of the ancient Qiongqi. Do you really think you can stand a chance against him? The two demon kings below roared angrily, trying to scare Lin Xian away. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The youngest elder? The bloodline of the ancient Qiongqi? No wonder he had such a strong aura. Brat, now you know how powerful I am. Let go of my people obediently. Otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Mengqi said coldly. He looked to be in his 30s and was extremely handsome. At this moment he stood in the sky, exuding a strong aura. He was very confident and proud. Although he was not the Holy Son, he was an elder. Moreover, he was the youngest elder. He did not even care about the other holy sons and holy daughters. This was because he felt that no one could compare to him. After all, he possessed the bloodline of the ancient Qiongqi. That was a peerless ancient beast. After hearing this, Lin Xian sneered. That's all? You want to scare me? You think too highly of yourself. You only possess a trace of the bloodline of the Qiongqi. You're not the real Qiongqi. Do you think you can be arrogant in front of me? As for letting the two of them go? That's impossible. Brat, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Mengqi's face darkened. His cold eyes emitted a terrifying murderous intent. When he struck out his palm, a terrifying light lit up the sky. The entire space shook. It had to be said that Mengqi was very powerful. He was definitely not weaker than the Holy Sun. At this moment, the power of his palm was terrifying. This was a flaming palm. It was like a cloud of fire rolling over. A mere elder of the Demon King Palace dares to attack me? Lin Xian sneered. He waved his palm and struck out as well. Boom, boom, boom. The two collided and the surrounding space instantly shattered. The flames in the sky surged like a sea of fire rushing in all directions. At this moment, the terrifying fight alarmed the people in the vicinity, causing them to be terrified as they watched. Who are they? Why are they fighting here? How terrifying. Could it be that they're snatching something? Let's stay away. This is at least a battle between holy sons. It's not something we can participate in. Discussions broke out and the crowd instantly distanced themselves. Nearby, the dark red divine dragon set up an array to defend. This prevented the aftermath of the energy from affecting Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqian. After the attack, Mengqi was surprised because he realized that the other party had blocked his attack. It really surprised him. I didn't expect you to know fire-based techniques. However, this little fire of yours is nothing in front of me. Today I'll let you know what real fire is. Mengqi's voice was cold. As he opened and closed his eyes, there was a mysterious flame that instantly melted the void. The terrifying temperature made people tremble. Boom. Another punch split the sky and earth. This flaming fist directly shattered the void. Ordinary mighty figures couldn't survive under his fist at all. They would probably burn instantly and turn into ashes. Even a peerless mighty figure wouldn't dare to resist. Bus. Lin Xian's aura surged. Sword chi circled around him. At the same time, the dragon sword's spiritual domain rose and fell, enveloping him. The sword chi quickly evolved and formed a fire qilin. This time, the tremor went straight to the 9 heavens. The entire hall shook. Space cracks crawled in all directions like pythons. Everyone around was shaken to the point that their blood was boiling. Many people even knelt on the ground, unable to stand up. How terrifying. What kind of people were fighting against each other? It was normal for people to fight. This was because there were fights in no less than hundreds of places in the entire hall. Some places were also fighting until the sky fell and the earth cracked. They were all fighting for the fragments of the ancient treasure. However, it was rare to see such an earth-shattering fight. These were obviously two peerless experts. Who were they? They were all stunned. Chapter 2466. Their eyes lit up and turned into rainbows. They looked into the void and pierced through the flames. When they saw the two figures fighting in the flames, they were so scared that their scalps went numb. It was them. He saw two figures. They knew Lin Xian very well. However, they didn't know the expert from the Demon King Palace. But from the other party's skills, he was definitely a top existence. I recognize him. He's the youngest elder of the Demon King Palace. His name is Meng Qi and he seems to have the bloodline of Qiong Qi. What, the bloodline of the ancient peerless demon beast Qiong Qi? Heavens, this person is too terrifying. Judging from his young appearance, he was definitely a top-notch expert. That's right. That kid from the Immortal Palace actually provoked the people from the Demon King Palace again. He's really bold. Where are the experts around him? Why aren't they here? Why did he attack himself? They were probably fighting for the Dao pattern. Didn't they see that the people from the Demon King Palace didn't appear? Only Meng Qi was there. But thinking about it, that kid shouldn't be able to resist this time. After all, the bloodline of Qiong Qi wasn't a joke. It would be best if he was killed. This way they would have one less enemy. Many people sneered. However, the elders were frowning. Would Lin Xian be killed so easily? It was hard to say. However, they didn't think that Lin Xian was 100% confident that he could defeat the other party. After all, Qiong Qi was an extremely terrifying existence. Although Meng Qi only had a portion of Qiong Qi's bloodline, he was still incredible. Moreover, he was talented and became an elder at such a young age. This was definitely a recognition of his strength. Just as these people were discussing, Lin Xian and Meng Qi had already exchanged dozens of blows. The two of them fought fiercely. Bang, bang, bang. Another shocking attack. The two of them retreated and confronted each other. Kid, your sword chi is not bad. It's very sharp, but it's still not enough in front of me. I'll let you know what a peerless divine fire is. Meng Qi raised his right hand. In his palm, a purple flame jumped. Every time it jumped, those elders' eyelids would tremble violently. Could this be the fire of Qiong Qi's bloodline? It must be. Otherwise, it wouldn't have given me such a huge shock. The elders swallowed their saliva. It seemed that the power of Meng Qi's bloodline was much stronger than they had imagined. Even the Qiong Qi's bloodline flame could be condensed. This was heaven-defying. Brat, provoking me is your biggest mistake. Now go to hell. Meng Qi waved his hand, holding Qiong Qi's flame of bloodline, and charged at Yi Futian. The purple flames danced and turned into a long purple saber that slashed down. Boom. The sky split open and flames danced. The entire space was enveloped by purple flames. This saber strike was incomparably terrifying. It was as if the saber of a deity had descended. It had the power to look down on the world and destroy the world. From the looks of it, he wanted to kill Lin Xian with one strike. Umph. Lin Xian snorted coldly, his expression incomparably cold. Whoosh. He pulled out the ancient dragon abyss sword. He waved the ancient sword and a terrifying sword light shot up into the sky. It was like a divine sword piercing through the void. It clashed with the purple flames and the saber light. The great dragon sword soul in his body circulated, causing the sword chi to dance together with the black flames. These were all swords of fire, extremely terrifying. The two of them fought again and all the elders around were stunned. What was going on? How could the other party resist Qiong Qi's flame of bloodline? How did this brat do it? What exactly was that black flame of his? How could it be so powerful? How could this brat have such a terrifying flame? It was no weaker than Qiong Qi's bloodline. These elders widened their eyes in disbelief. No. An elder from the sacred ground's eyes flickered, and there were mysterious runes on his body. His power did not seem to be flames. Could it be that he was using a great divine power to simulate a terrifying flame? He was trying to slap Meng Qi in the face. In front of him, Meng Qi's expression also changed because he did not expect the other party's flame to be so powerful that it could compete with his flame of bloodline. This was too unbelievable. Umph. He snorted coldly and the purple flames shone even brighter. It even formed a blurry shadow that crashed forward, trying to kill the other party. However, it only pushed the other party back a few steps and did not hurt him at all. Damn brat, I don't believe it. Go to hell. Meng Qi roared crazily. The purple flames on his body jumped and gradually condensed into a Qiong Qi. It seemed that he wanted to show his great divine power. Qiong Qi roared, and the purple flames formed a shadow of heaven and earth that floated in the air. Then it opened its bloody mouth and let out a horrified roar. This roar contained a strong bloodline power, as if the real Qiongqi had been resurrected. The roar shook the 9 heavens. Heaven and earth shattered. The terrifying energy swept in all directions, and the surrounding martial artists were all sent flying, vomiting blood. Even the elders were pale and kept retreating. What a terrifying pressure, what a terrifying bloodline power. It's over, that brat is dead. At such a close distance he can't dodge at all, and he probably can't fight back either. The others were discussing. That was Meng Qi's goal. He did not believe that the other party could withstand it. Lin Xian's pupils constricted as he felt the pressure. Bang! A loud dragon roar came from his body to fight back. Roar bang! The roar shook the 9 heavens. Everyone vomited blood again and retreated, their faces full of horror. Damn it, what is that sound? These people were crazy. In the sky, 2 sound waves collided, tearing everything apart. A huge crack appeared in the void, causing the entire sky to tremble. At this moment, everyone could not stand still, and their blood was boiling. They stopped fighting and looked into the distance in shock. In another side hall, the people of 5 Elements Palace and Demon King Palace were fighting. Suddenly, a furious roar roared, shaking these people until they vomited blood. The people of 5 Elements Palace changed their expressions, and the martial artists of Demon King Palace were even more shocked. It was Elder Meng Qi. He actually used the Qiongqi roar. What happened to him? The people of Demon King Palace were also stunned. The Qiongqi roar was a great divine power. With Elder Meng Qi's strength, he would not use it under normal circumstances. They thought that he must have encountered a great enemy. However, they were not worried. No matter who the enemy was, as long as they used the Qiongqi roar, the other party would definitely be destroyed. However, immediately after, a loud and clear dragon roar completely overturned them. These people's expressions changed. Dragon roar. It's the royal family. It must be the royal family. They roared crazily, but they did not know which royal family it was. This time the 4 royal families were here. The experts of Great Xia, Jiuli, Tai, and Divine Wind all had the aura of the dragon. Which royal family was it that fought Elder Meng Qi? They did not know. Chapter 2467. Which royal family was it that fought Elder Meng Qi? They didn't know. They wanted to go over and watch, but the people from 5 Elements Palace blocked them. Want to leave? Not so easy. Compensate us for our losses first. They naturally guessed that the other party's elder was threatened. They wouldn't let the people from Demon King Palace go to help. It would be best if the other party's elder died. That way they would feel better. Damn it, get out of here. The people from Demon King Palace roared angrily. However, at this moment, another earth-shattering dragon roar sounded. The people from Demon King Palace were all stunned. Many of them trembled and prostrated on the ground. The elders also gritted their teeth and resisted with difficulty. Hua Tiandu's body erupted with light, making him look like a sun. He resisted the dragon roar. A mysterious power appeared in Yen Ryu's body. A mysterious rune appeared between her brows and instantly dissolved the dragon roar. Obviously, her bloodline power was far beyond everyone's imagination. The dragon roar and Qiongqi's roar couldn't threaten her at all. However, the others couldn't. They were suppressed in an instant. At this moment, the people from the 4 empires were also very confused. They weren't together, but each of them was in a different side hall. Therefore, they also did not know which dynasty had done it. In the main hall, terrifying roars collided, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Bang bang. In the sky full of light, a figure flew out and spat out a mouthful of blood. This figure was Meng Qi. His face was pale and his body was stained with blood. His face was full of shock. Impossible. Damn it, how could he withstand it? Meng Qi was about to go crazy. Not only did the other party resist his Qiongqi roar, but he was also injured. What was that sound coming from the other party's body? Dragon roar? Damn it, why did the other party have a dragon roar? The other party wasn't from the royal family, so where did the dragon roar come from? He was confused. Moreover, he couldn't believe it at all. Even the people from the 4 empires couldn't make such a terrifying dragon roar. Unless it was the princes of the 4 empires who had an extremely terrifying aura of the dragon. Only then could they resist his Qiongqi roar. However, it was impossible to injure him. Then there was only one possibility left. Damn it, could it be that this brat has the bloodline of dragons? But how was that possible? The other party was clearly a human. How could he possess the bloodline of dragons? He couldn't figure it out and was about to go crazy. In front of him, a sword light flashed, instantly splitting the sound waves and energy that filled the sky. Lin Xian slowly walked over. He held the killing sword in his hand, and a baleful aura emanated from his body as he coldly stared at his opponent. Do you think your bloodline power is enough to suppress me? You've always been the one who overestimated yourself. As he spoke, he brandished his sword. The sword chi was like a rainbow, densely packed in the sky and on the ground. Thousands of sword chi slashed forward. In an instant, it enveloped Meng Qi, who was in the void. Damn it, Qiongqi, kill. Die for me. Meng Qi formed a seal with his hands. The flames on his body danced and the purple shadow appeared again. With a roar, he charged over. He was like a purple streak of light that streaked across the sky, shattering the sword light that filled the sky. Although Meng Qi only had a trace of the bloodline, it was enough to dominate the crowd. But this time he miscalculated. This was because Lin Xian was using the great dragon sword soul. It was an offensive saint art between heaven and earth. In an instant, the terrifying purple shadow was destroyed by the endless sword light. It dimmed and then disappeared into the void. Damn it! How could this be? Meng Qi couldn't believe it and shook his head frantically. That was the power of his bloodline. But it was destroyed by the other party. What kind of sword chi was that? Who was the other party? There was a dragon's roar and such a terrifying sword chi? Perhaps even the Yi family's sacred son wasn't so terrifying. Damn it, I don't believe it. Kaitian seal. Meng Qi roared, his black hair fluttering. He put his hands together and formed a strange seal. Together with the bloodline fire, he rushed forward. One blow blew up the sky and earth. It was as if the sky and earth were being split apart. The surrounding elders trembled. It was over. Lin Xian's voice was cold. A dragon-shaped shadow appeared on the ancient sword. He waved the long sword. The 5 elements combined and the shadow of the dragon sword quickly slashed forward. A 5-colored divine dragon collided with the Kai Tian seal in the sky. It was too terrifying. Their attacks collided, and the entire sky cracked open. Terrifying energy slapped in all directions like waves. The bright light made it impossible for people to open their eyes. They could only see it through their souls. At this time, a scream was heard. Then Meng Qi spat out blood and flew backward. His body was split in half and one of his arms was cut off. What? Meng Qi was injured and he was seriously injured. Those people were stunned and couldn't believe it. That was the youngest elder of the Demon King Palace and he had the Qiongqi bloodline. He was extremely terrifying. Now he was seriously injured. For a moment they couldn't imagine. Meng Qi screamed and turned into a purple flowing light, fleeing into the distance. Wanna leave? Sky shattering. Chaotic pattern. God slaying. Another 3 streaks of sharp sword light completely enveloped Meng Qi. Meng Qi spat out blood again and his injuries were even more serious. However, he didn't die and still escaped. Lin Xian used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and quickly chased after him. However, at this time, an even more terrifying vibration was heard. The whole sky seemed to be overturned. They didn't doubt that this energy could kill anyone. Feeling the change in this energy, Lin Xian's expression changed. He didn't chase after him. After all, the other party was seriously injured and was no match for him. Now he had to protect Murong Qingqing and Shinjingqiu. Whoosh! He stopped and landed beside the 2 girls. At the same time he looked around vigilantly. That was because the power of the vibrations was too terrifying. At this moment, not only did Lin Xian stop fighting, but the hundreds of fighting places in the entire hall also stopped. On the other side, in the side hall, the people of the 5 Elements Palace and the Demon King Palace also separated and stopped fighting. Their faces were filled with fear as they looked around. What kind of energy was this? It was too terrifying. It was beyond their imagination. For a moment, everyone was discussing. They stopped searching and set off toward the main hall. The people of the 5 Elements Palace turned and left, and the people of the Demon King Palace followed closely behind. However, in the next moment, their expressions became extremely ugly, because a figure in a sorry state came to their side. Elder Meng Qi. Oh God! He actually suffered such a serious injury. At this moment, Elder Meng Qi's body was broken and his face was pale. Blood dyed his body red and one of his arms was missing. Chapter 2468. Elder Meng Qi's body was broken and his face was pale. Blood dyed his body red, and one of his arms disappeared without a trace. If it was any more serious he would have been killed. Elder Meng-Chi, are you alright? The warriors of the Demon Imperial Palace quickly went up and surrounded him. At the same time they fed him pills. Meng-Chi's face was pale as he gritted his teeth. He was really terrified. Because under normal circumstances, so what if he lost an arm? It could grow back in an instant. His injuries could also be healed instantly. One had to know that their demon bloodline was very strong to begin with. But now he couldn't do it. There was a terrifying sword intent left on his wound, preventing his broken arm from regenerating. It was already very good that he could resist the sword intent with difficulty. Unless he erased the sword intent, he would not be able to recover. Otherwise, his injuries would become more and more serious. This made him even more terrified. What kind of sword technique did the other party use? How could it be so terrifying? When the people of the Demon Imperial Palace saw this situation, their faces were also solemn. Damn it! Who was it? Which dynasty was it from? Was it the Great Xia dynasty? Because they knew that the Great Xia dynasty had an extreme weapon, the Golden Sword. Therefore, there must be an extreme weapon imitation among the people of the Great Xia dynasty this time. Perhaps these sword chi were to prevent the Golden Sword from injuring him. It wasn't someone from the Great Xia dynasty. Meng-Chi swallowed some pills and recovered quite a bit. At least, he temporarily suppressed the injuries in his body. He gritted his teeth and said, "It's the kid that the saint asked us to monitor." What? Are you talking about that Lin Xian from the Immortal Palace? How could he have such a terrifying sword technique? That's not right. It shouldn't be. Was he also the one who let out the dragon roar earlier? How could he have the aura of the Tao of Dragons? The people of the Demon Imperial Palace were stunned. Meng-Chi was even more stunned. He didn't know. This kid was too strange. I even suspect that he has the bloodline of dragons. Dragon's bloodline. This was impossible. The elders of the Demon Imperial Palace exclaimed. Even their Demon Imperial Palace only had the bloodline of flood dragons at most. They didn't have the bloodline of true dragons at all. Perhaps only the nest of 10,000 dragons had it. Huotiandu's face was gloomy. Damn it, he didn't expect this guy to be so strong. Yenryu's eyes flickered as if she already knew about this. Elders, treat Elder Meng's injuries first and get rid of the sword intent in his body. Let's go. Huotiandu gave a few instructions, then led the large group and quickly set off. That was because they wanted to see who had unleashed that terrifying power that shook the heavens and earth. It wasn't just the Demon Imperial Palace. At this moment, everyone had gathered. Lin Xian also frowned. Shen Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing, who were sitting cross-legged, opened their eyes. How is it? You didn't get interrupted, did you? Lin Xian asked with concern. The two women shook their heads. Fortunately, they had memorized everything. Big brother Lin Xian, don't worry, I'll remember it all. Shen Jingqiu smiled. That's good. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. With a wave of his hand, he wanted to put away the treasure map. However, at this moment, a roar suddenly came from afar. Good stuff. 6 Tao patterns. That's mine. A huge hand that covered the sky descended from the sky, trying to take away the treasure map. You're courting death. Lin Xian was instantly furious. His figure flashed and he instantly grabbed the treasure map and put it into the black earth. At the same time, the dark red divine dragon activated the array to resist. Xing Tian punched out. Boom, boom, boom. A fierce collision sounded again. The figure was knocked back and shouted angrily. Damn it! How dare you stop us? Are you tired of living? Hand over the treasure obediently, or I'll send you to the 18th level of hell. The twin kings of middle ground. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. Why did they appear? They didn't go through the middle passage. Could it be that the people from the other 2 passages were also here? He was very confused, but he didn't have time to think too much because the twin kings of middle ground were charging over in the sky again. The pitch-black demonic chi turned into a death scythe and slashed down. On the other side, the heavenly treasure Dharma wheel also fell mercilessly. You're courting death. Let's attack together. Lin Xian snorted coldly and then slashed out with his sword. The dark red divine dragon swung its tail, and Xing Tian punched out violently. Murong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu also attacked. It was 5 against 2. The twin kings of middle ground were sent flying in an instant, and they were vomiting blood. The golden light and the boundless demonic chi in the sky dimmed. This attack could be said to be earth-shattering. This caused everyone's gazes to turn toward them. Because this energy was too terrifying, they all thought that the earth-shattering sound from before was that energy. Therefore many people flew over in a flash. When they saw the twin kings of middle ground flying back, everyone stopped in their tracks. They were shocked and bewildered. Heavens, what kind of energy was that? How could it send the twin kings of Middle Ground flying in an instant? It was more than that. Didn't you see that they were vomiting blood? Everyone was stunned. The elders and powerhouses of the great sage didn't dare to approach at all. Wang Ju, the twin kings of Middle Ground, had the strength of a son of Middle Ground, and he was one of the most powerful sons of Middle Ground. But now he was sent flying back while vomiting blood. Who dared to move forward? In the sky, the twin kings of Middle Ground flew backward for a long time before they stopped. The two of them were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. They charged over again. But soon they were sent flying again while vomiting blood. Moreover, their injuries were more serious than the last time. This caused everyone to be stunned. The twin kings of Middle Ground were so angry that they roared. The golden light and demonic chi on their bodies surged into the sky and quickly healed their broken bones. However, the two of them didn't attack again. Instead, they flew over. When they saw the other parties line up, their eyelids twitched. No wonder the two of them couldn't defeat them. Damn it, the other party had 3 sons of Middle Ground. In addition, there was a peerless powerhouse and a very strange snake. Each of them was a shocking enemy. If they joined forces, the two of them wouldn't be able to defeat them at all. The others also saw clearly that the terrifying attackers were Lin Xian and the other 4. They sucked in a breath of cold air. The previous tremors weren't caused by them, right? Lin Xian looked at the figure in front of him and asked in a deep voice, "Why are you here? Where are the people from the other passages?" Hearing that, the surrounding cultivators of the sacred grounds also came back to their senses. That's right, there were no twin kings in the middle passage. Could it be that the people from the other 2 passages had also come? Sure enough, more and more figures flickered in front of them. Obviously, they were the people from the other 2 passages. At that moment, they were all injured. Some of them were dimmed, while others were excited. It seemed that this path was filled with opportunities, fortuitous encounters, treasure snatching and killing. Compared to when they first entered, there were obviously fewer people in that group. It seemed that the other 2 passages weren't safe either. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.